Hello and welcome back to another episode, actually the final episode of 2024 for Podcast 572. We'll be taking a Xmas break, for a couple weeks. What did we decide? We come back on January 10th?
Somewhere around there, or whatever is 2 weeks from now. So
2 weeks from 2 weeks.
4 weeks from now.
And real quick at the top of the show, I will say we did release one of those new mini episodes that did pretty decently. We will have another one of those on the week that we're off. So I think that's going to be the Friday after Christmas, I think is when we'll be releasing that.
13th, so 27. So yeah,
27. So we'll be doing another one of those. So that look forward to that. That'll be on YouTube. But we'll kick off the end of this year, and I will also say Matt is out on assignment. He'll be back with us in the beginning of the new year. We'll begin as we always do, talking about what we've been playing, and my list and your list is probably a little bit longer because we've been off for a little bit because of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yep.
We also got through Black Friday, so I know you and I bought a plethora. We saved our pennies and bought a plethora of games dirt cheap.
Yeah, nothing.
For the Black Friday sale.
Nothing phenomenal, but
nothing crazy. Some of the bigger titles I waited for, I'll go through some of them. So I got for a solid whole $10 off the first one, and this might be the only one that I actually cracked open yet. Would be Astrobot.
Mm-hmm.
So I've now played the first 3 areas of that game, like
the planets or the worlds.
The planets, okay. With all the different levels, and then you fight the boss.
Right.
Amazing game.
Yeah.
It's just a joy to play from the minute you sit down. It's just pure fun.
Yeah, and it's not difficult. It's
not overly difficult.
There's a small amount of
challenge to
thinking about doing things, but
nothing crazy. I mean, the challenge in the game really comes from finding all the hidden objects and stuff for the collectibles. But and there's also a way where you can have a thing that kind of helps you see where that stuff is.
Yeah.
For a small fee in the game, but you're collecting coins all the time anyway. So I don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's anything crazy, but it's just a fun game to play, and I can see why kids today gravitated towards it, like you and I would have for Mario.
Yeah,
it really feels like the next generation of Mario, just PlayStation's version of it,
right? And even in such a way of each level is the appropriate length. It's never too long. It's never too short.
No.
They're very different from each other, even in the same world. It's constantly giving you new power ups and stuff to explore with, and
it's another one of those games where it looks so incredible. I don't know what having a PS5 Pro would do more for this game.
I can't imagine that game looking better than it does.
I can't imagine this game pushes the hardware to its limits or anything
like
that.
I mean, to be fair, we know it does because it killed my system.
Oh, true.
But on a new one, it works great. So
on I say the slim model,
yeah,
but it works great. But
yeah, I mean, that game's just fun. I need to finish. I think I have the last world left, but
okay.
I think it was at this point. I was just waiting for them to put out all the content.
It has a great way of celebrating the different years of PlayStation. I mean, they obviously tied this up with the 30th anniversary of PlayStation this year. It makes a lot more sense why this came out this year now. But I'm glad that demo, it wasn't even a demo, it was actually a pretty decently length game that came with everybody's PS5. Turned into, hey, let's put out a full release. I wouldn't classify that as a demo, but I also wouldn't classify that as a full game.
It was more of it was somewhere in the middle.
Arcade, like an arcade style. Think the old Xbox Live Arcade. I'd say it was like that length.
There's a thing that they've always talked about. Does Nintendo has a mascot, right? And you could even argue that Microsoft did for a long time, maybe not anymore. Master Chief, but
Sony was always in identity crisis.
Well, and Sony was always kind of, is it Crash? Is it Spyro? Well, they don't really own those and all this other stuff.
They own Astrobot.
Heavily Astrobot, and they need to lean. Right, they tried to make it Sackboy for a long time, to be fair.
It just didn't work.
But lean into Astrobot, like heavy. He should be all over the place.
And it always felt like they maybe tried a little too hard with Sackboy, whereas like I don't think they were even trying with Astrobot, because remember he originally started as the VR game character,
the little playroom thing where like he was in your controller and you could do that. And
the other great thing I'll say about it, I think we've talked about when you were originally playing the game, but like this game, much like the game that came with the system when you bought it, makes such a great use of the haptic feedback on the controller.
It's
that
perfect.
I feel like most PlayStation games don't really do much with that. Like maybe a little bit with the triggers, but like that's it.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where they've kind of shown you how easy they can do it and how well it can be done, but no other companies seem to even attempt it.
But yeah, Astrobot, it's just a joy to play from the moment you sit down to the moment you stop playing. So I am, like I said, that's definitely a game I'm going to finish during our Christmas break here. It's definitely, I will say, a game that will it'll be on my top 10. Will definitely crack my top 5 probably. But just a tremendous game, and I mean, pretty easy in a year where there weren't a lot of like amazing exclusive games. for any of the systems, really.
Yeah, really.
But specifically the 2 big ones. Yeah. So I have played a little more Black Ops 6. I did not finish the campaign. I ended up having to remove it to make room for Indiana Jones, because that game is 140 gigs install. And Black Ops is also about 140 gigabyte install game. So but what's cool about it, I got to the same level that I think Matt had talked about on a previous episode, where it's like it's not open world, but it's an open map where once you get to a certain point of the level, it just opens up and it's like, okay, there's these 3 different missiles you have to go and disarm, and they're all kind of different corners of the map. But then on the way, there are different secondary objectives that are optional, but you can totally go and do that. And they give you a Jeep and you just drive. And like, I haven't played a Call of Duty for a couple of years, so I don't know how much vehicles have really come into it in recent titles. I know that's something they tried in some of the earlier ones that didn't really work at the time. But here you get a Jeep, you have your people follow you. Like, for example, you'll get to one thing where it's like an overturned tank or whatever, and then you have to help the people that are trying to get out of the tank get to safety, because it's all during the Gulf War.
Oh, okay.
So it's all in the desert. So it's a big desert map. But it's cool because it's something completely different you haven't seen in Call of Duty before. You've never seen an open map where it's like, okay, you can tackle these objectives any way that you want to. It's not a guided, like, linear thing like Call of Duty typically is. And that's really cool. So that campaign continues as I play it, more and more of it, to be really good. And like I said, maybe it probably helps I took a 5-year break from Call of Duty.
Probably.
So,
yeah.
But it seems like there's been enough time that they've realized, like, we need to do some different things here. So I will go back to it at some point, but like I said, I had to make room for Indy, which I guess I'll briefly talk about Indy here. So Indiana Jones, and I'll say leading up to it was a little skeptical. Bethesda did. I saw a lot of people panicking, but I don't know why, because Bethesda has done this since Doom 2016, which is they did not let the review embargo lift until the release. Remember that Doom was the famous one where everybody thought it was going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And then the reviews lifted. It was like, that was one of the best games of the year. And the same thing happened with Indy. So it lifted and people were like overwhelmingly positive about it.
I was pleasantly surprised with like the high scores it was getting, because there was a lot of stuff in the previews where, is this going to work in first person? Why are they doing it in first person?
What sold me was I saw the reviews hit, because I think it was last Monday night, whatever the 9th was, when the review embargo lifted. They had was right after the early access, or was it before it? No, I take it back. It was the Monday before the 9th, because it was before the early access, and it lifted. And I was scrolling through YouTube. It was like 6:00 at night. And I saw our buddy Jeff Gersman review. I was like, I'll click it and see what his opinion, because he usually doesn't like anything.
Right.
It's like his favorite game of the year.
I know.
And he loves Indiana Jones. It's like his favorite game of the year.
Well,
and that's what sold me. I was like,
he's a big Doom and Wolfenstein guy. Mm-hmm. He likes machine games. He likes what Bethesda puts out for the most part. Um,
and
so
that's
it's
the
not
thing I'll say.
unsurprising, but it's a little surprising.
And that's the thing I'll say. The first thing, coming off of it and playing now, I've played. I don't think it's a spoiler to say what the tutorial level is at this point. Is you play the tutorial level, you play the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which when I first heard that, I cringed a little bit, but then seeing footage of it, then actually playing it, it's kind of the perfect way to go to introduce you into this. At the same time, highlighting like this insane job that Troy Baker has done of sounding like Harrison Ford.
I've heard a couple more clips here and there, and it's pretty crazy
because like back at E3 or whatever, like early in the summer when we saw that most recent trailer, you kind of had the feeling of like, you can tell it's him, but you can also tell it's Troy Baker, kind of a thing. Like, not at all. When you play this game, to the effect now that like I can 100% say this was the perfect choice for this game, rather than a lot of people were kind of like, maybe they should have got Harrison Ford. It wouldn't sound
that's a bad idea.
So but he does a phenomenal job. The opening that you play, which is Raiders, is like faithfully recreated shot for shot. But what's cool about it is you also get to explore that scene. So like there's parts of it that you didn't see in the movie. Like for example, like you're standing by the water, well, you can just go walk in that water.
That's cool.
And that part of it's really cool. I will also say like it ends that beginning flashback tutorial ends right where it probably should. So it doesn't overstay its welcome, because I think it easily could have. The other thing I did not know playing this game is the first. I don't even think this is really a spoiler. I just didn't know this actor was in it. And then they did a thing last night where they did a on the Game Awards. They did a little like thing at the end of that commercial they showed for the game.
Yeah, where
they're like in memory of. I didn't know that Tony Todd was in this game.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when you first encounter him at the beginning of the game, it's almost like, boy, that dude looks like Tony Todd, but I don't think that's him because he passed a while ago. But no, it's him. So I think this might have been like one of his final performances.
It's got to be up there for sure.
So I don't know how much of in the game he actually is because I've only seen him once, but he's in the very beginning of that game. So the other thing I'll say, and we talked about this months ago, but the excitement here being that it's Machine Games, they have a lot of those ex-Starbreeze people. So I had kind of the hope of like, oh, maybe it'll feel like Chronicles of Riddick or like The Darkness or like one of those. And it totally does.
Yeah.
It feels like a spiritual successor to Chronicles of Riddick and The Darkness. It sounds crazy that in first person, like the punching, because like you do have your revolver, you can shoot it. I have not shot a single round in the game so far. I basically just punched and I use the whip. And it worked. Like even watching the trailers and stuff, like seeing it, you think like, I don't know if that's going to work. It works perfectly, like way better than you would think. The traversal, the one thing they do that's good is like, again, I think we both agreed to like, this had to be different than Uncharted and Tomb Raider because you don't want another third person. But I do think it is the smart decision when you're scaling walls and stuff that it does go out in third person.
Yeah.
Because it would get a little jarring. So they do a good job of that. Visually, it looks phenomenal. Like this is one of the best looking games. And again, like I said earlier, but it also, again, makes that argument for like, I don't know why this PS5 Pro exists right now when we're starting to now see like a big, like Astrobot and I think Indie are real good arguments for games that are finally starting to tap the full potential of these systems with how good they look. And considering, I don't know if you ever looked at the PC specs for Indie, but they're crazy.
They're wild.
So,
yeah.
Whereas, like, even me upgrading my video card earlier this year, I probably still wouldn't be able to run Indie very well. So I've been playing it just on the Xbox. And I think the other thing the best thing I can really praise about Indie, other than obviously Troy Baker sounds like him, the gameplay is really good, is it feels like a natural Indiana Jones story. The writing is excellent.
That's the best you could hope for.
Yeah, like the writing so far is excellent. It makes logical sense. It seems like, and again, I'm not very far in the game, but it seems like it is going to have like a little bit of that supernatural element to it, but it seems like they're going with a good balance so far. Like you want that in an Indiana Jones adventure, but you don't want it to go too far or in the sci-fi direction, which is, obviously the mistake that was made. But I really don't have anything negative to say about it thus far. I just think it came out. It obviously got all those glowing reviews, so I was relieved to see that. I'm probably 5 hours into it. So I'm still in. I don't know if you're watching the footage. I'm still in the Vatican area.
No, I'm
so
watching.
I did all the side missions. That's the other thing. Like the game has side quests, like in each like I guess we'll call it level that you play, kind of like Riddick or whatever, where it's like, well, there's these other people you can help
right
along your way. So, but fantastic game. I'm very curious to see how long until it comes to PS5.
Well, it said spring.
It said spring. I'm thinking May.
Yeah,
like March,
end
May
of April.
Window.
Yeah.
But I think with how good this game has done, like I think they want to get it out because I think the sales are going to be pretty high when it does hit PS5.
Yeah, you want to sell copies of it.
You want to sell copies of the game at this point. The other thing I've been doing, like I've been trying to make through the Power Wash DLCs. At some point I went on one of the most recent sales and I bought every DLC I think that offers achievements.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that I have left now, other than the tail end of the last Warhammer ship, which is insane.
Yeah.
The thing is so massive and so big.
I've done that twice.
I've done like I took 2 nights and probably 2 hours, and I play it solo, and like I still have I think 15% of that.
It's a lot. You got to move those wings up and down. It's
you have
crazy.
to move the wings up and down. At least they give you a high enough tower thing to climb.
Yeah.
And then I have the last DLC that they put out that has achievements is the Alice in Wonderland one. So that's the last one I'll do. I did all the Shrek one. Shrek one is great. I will say though the first town that you do is also extremely lengthy, and that's the first thing that you do.
Oh boy.
And then I don't know how this will be on PlayStation, but on the Xbox, the trophy for Shrek Swamp, the first thing you have to do is clean the outhouse door and handle. That was glitchy for me. I got it, but I had to do it a second time. Thankfully, it's the first thing you have to do, so it's not like one of those you have to beat the entire map again. So, but I just have been fun. I've been having fun with that. I was also sick during Thanksgiving a little bit, so I was not looking for something that was something that's going to occupy everything, and that was an easy, put on, relax game to play. Since the last time we recorded, the Blood Omen re-releases have come out, so the original game has like its PS1 to PS4 and 5 version, and then we have Blood Omen 2, which is a PS2 to PS4 and 5. I have played both. One gets pretty challenging because when you get to the second, I got to the second dungeon and forgot. Once they start introducing enemies that have spells, it's kind of hard in a top down, because the easiest way I can describe the first one is it's very much like, think the original Zelda.
Okay.
That's kind of like how the original Blood Omen plays. But then imagine like wizard enemies that can shoot orbs, like fire orbs at you that are homing. Not a fun time. And the orbs that you have are not homing. So that's where I got to that game. I was like, I'll come back to it. But I wanted to jump into Blood Omen 2 and see how that was. So I played up to the first like boss, which is like 3 or 4 levels into that game. And it just, when I got to the boss, I was just reminded of like, it's a total PS2 era, not a great camera angle type boss fight. And it's just one of those where I got to that point too. I was like, I'll come back to this. So, because the camera's not too great, but I still love those games. I've not played it yet, but I did buy, because they did like a 10% thing off if you pre-ordered it, the Legacy of Kain games. And I look forward to playing those at some point. But because I want to give them money, because I would like to see them do the same thing for Blood Omen or make a new one. Right. So and then I'll throw this in here real quick, and I'll talk about the last things that I played. But you and I are pretty much the end of Outriders. We have one trophy.
We've technically finished it. So everyone who's been following along, like, of our quest to finish everything in Outriders, we have finished the DLC now. Again, we skipped all the cutscenes, so I don't really care about the story, but
no,
this is another thing where like the DLC of this game just completely flips what the game was. It becomes like a raid-like structure where there's like puzzles to solve during fights. It's crazy. This game just keeps changing and throwing new enemies and different objectives. We've beaten it, so we got that trophy, but then we have to do it one more time on like level 25.
Yeah, we're at the point now where we're just opening it up and having somebody and hoping somebody that's a higher level joins to help carry us through.
The people that are left in this game have to be high enough level to try to help us carry through this thing. So, that'll finally be done, which is nice.
That'll finally be done.
It's a good game. I have nothing against the game. It plays well. It's just.
Should we say what our next journey is?
I forget. What did we decide on?
Oh, we decided on it.
What was it?
It's a game that we got cheap at Walmart.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
A hot PS5 launch title, Godfall.
Oh man.
That to be fair, I'm actually excited to play that. I thought it looked interesting when it came out.
Been on my shelf
but it was not a $70
very
game.
long time now.
I think we paid $15 for. I feel like that's the appropriate price. Yeah. So it's been both our shelves for a while, and it was one of those like I kind of forgot. I think you mentioned it, and I was like, we'll do that.
Yeah, because I was just kind of looking at my shelf of like stuff that I haven't touched that we could do, and
that's
next. Yeah.
So I look forward to doing that. We'll start that probably in the new year here.
As soon as we can finish this last Outlander.
So I can delete it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be gone forever.
And then finally, I have, and I mark this as the simulator games. So I played a lot more during the Thanksgiving break because I had taken that entire week off for Thanksgiving. So I played a lot of trading card simulator to the point now where like I could probably put a break on that game until they do some sort of major update, because now it's just kind of cycling the same stuff over and over again. I don't have very much else to build out of the store.
Okay.
Which is a good thing, because all of a sudden this past Monday, I was flipping around on Steam just looking at stuff, and a new simulator game dropped, Laundry Store Simulator. And I read the premise of it, and it just launched Monday. I think it was $8 because they have it on a sale, and I was like, it's $8. How could I go wrong? And so last night when I was watching the Game Awards, I devoted a good chunk of time while I was watching the Game Awards to play it. So I'm now about 6 hours deep into Laundry Store Simulator. And the thing I'll say about these games, they're all different enough that I enjoy each one of them for what they are. So this one, and they're all like, this one is different than the other two, and I think it's a different engine too. It doesn't have like that same feeling,
right?
But what's fun about this game is it has random events that can happen. So what I mean by that is, like, there might be somebody that rolls by outside and just starts putting graffiti on the store. There might be a crazy customer that comes in and starts smoking in the bathroom to the point that it smokes the entire laundromat out.
That's good.
Or my personal favorite that I found last night, some dude came in his underwear, got into the office, and is just sitting on my computer looking at porno.
Okay,
sure. And so I'm sitting there playing the game, and all of a sudden this little notification comes up on the HUD, and it says "naughty customer on your PC," and I'm like, "What? Like, what does that mean?" And so I run into my office. Sure enough, this dude's sitting in his underwear looking at porno, which it's censored on the game,
right?
So it has big like comical censors on it. But like, you have to take out your wrench and smack him with the wrench, and he runs out of the store. So, but there's random events like that can happen in this one, which is cool. I'll say, like, doing the actual task of laundry, because it does remind me a little bit of Arcade Paradise, because that was the beginning of that game, was you run the laundromat.
The original laundry simulator, yeah.
Yeah, then you build up the arcade until you kind of turn it into an arcade. It's very similar to that, but different at the same time. And as you build the store, it gets more intricate. So, like, you have your main laundromat, and then at the point I'm at now I've opened up a side part of it where, like, the main part of it, you do all the laundry for the people. So, like, they come in, they drop their thing off. You have to wash, dry, fold, and iron and everything. If they have pets, you have to do the little lint roller. But then I have a side part of the building that is just coin operated. And so you have coin-operated units that you can buy and put in there, and they're just on their own. They do whatever they want in there. At the end of the day, you go and you empty the money. So, and then there are other parts of it, like there's like the building just keeps expanding. It's pretty big too. So, but it's different enough that it has its hooks in me. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with just the randomness of the dumb shit that people can do. Like I said, I didn't know about the smoking when all of a sudden, like I'm working, all of a sudden the whole store just fills up with smoke. Like, what the hell is going on? And then it comes up little corners like customers smoking in your bathroom. I'm like, why do you go in there and you have to hit them with your wrench? They run out. So it's a cool game. So it's $8 on Steam right now. The simulator games have been the death of me in 2024. So I put Supermarket Simulator on hold until they do another major update. I'm putting the trading card game on hold till they do a major update. I'm gonna play the laundry store one.
There you go.
This one also is a 1.0 as they released it, so it's not early access.
Okay, interesting.
But they are going to add more to it. So, but it is a complete game right now, which is kind of cool. It does feel a little more polished, I would say as well. So, but that covers the plethora of things that I've played. We'll kick over to you.
So I'll start with just some updates on older stuff. So, and you'll enjoy this one because I have now finished the main story of Gotham Knights. I have finished the main side quests of Gotham Knights, which are like the Clayface and Mr. Freeze and Harley Quinn stuff. This is one of the laziest games I've ever.
Clayface is in that game.
Yeah, he's so there's three
how horribly
different
is he handled? I mean, you said the stories are bad. So.
They're bad. It's about him wanting to be an actor and shooting a movie. So he's using other pieces of himself as clay people to shoot a movie with him as the star.
Okay.
It's he's been hurting people and doing it. The final fight with him is in a giant furnace, so you have to cook him to stop him.
Fair.
The way that they handle the side villain content is extra strange in this game because it's not like you go out there and fight them and whatever. They're instance things. So you select it and you get transported to it. And then you go through it and then you're transported back out.
That's weird.
And then each one of them has an interlude thing where you have to go get more information on Clayface. And it's just really bad structuring. Each story feels half done. The main story is completely half-assed. Spoilers for a game nobody cares about anymore, but the whole point of the game is Bruce is dead, except he's not. Oops. We've brought him back because conveniently the one Lazarus pit in Gotham is directly below the Batcave.
Conveniently.
Yeah, how convenient. Talia brings him back to life, so he's the second to last boss fight is a recently revived
version
Bruce.
of him, yeah.
Not even. It's a half version of it in a small arena, and then when you beat him, you fight Talia for a little bit, and then the game's over. It's such a weird,
and it's not a thing where do you feel like they were trying to set up for some sort of DLC expansion that just never happened?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
but the problem is they resolve nothing. At best, the only thing that has been solved from this whole problem is the Lazarus Pit in Gotham is now useless because Batman drove the fucking bat plane into it and it blew up at the end of the game.
They probably were getting ambitious and thinking, hey, we'll get a sequel to this.
Maybe,
it's Batman,
but you didn't stop the Court of Owls. You didn't stop the League of Assassins. You didn't stop the Crime Family. You didn't stop a damn thing. And they're all just, and now that they were upset Bruce was dead the whole time, and then now that we helped kill him again, they're all we did a good job. It's no, we didn't do a good job.
How much worse does Red Hood get in that game?
He's just always fucking dumb.
Okay.
Dude. At one point, he's standing in the background playing a Spy Hunter arcade machine while the other people are talking. He's I can't believe we lost. It's what is happening?
That's bad.
Yeah, it really feels like you've solved nothing after playing that entire game.
How much do you have left to
There's a lot of collectibles, man. There's a lot. Luckily, they're somewhat broken down by there's 12 in this area, there's 12 over here.
Okay.
You have to unlock fast travel points, much like Assassin's Creed type thing, go climb the towers kind of a thing. Except you have to scan drones. Wow. So technically advanced.
It sucks because in an alternate reality, I feel like where we didn't get Suicide Squad, we would have gotten some sort of cooperative Batman and Robin game in the Arkham universe.
That's what we should have gotten the whole time.
Kind of like that multiplayer mode, except a full game.
That's what it should have been.
And I think people would have been okay. I would have been okay with that.
No, but this game, it's just bad. It's just not. It's
when it's done, will you immediately jump into Suicide Squad?
No, we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
We're gonna play something else.
I was gonna say I would advise taking a break.
No, we're playing something else.
Okay.
And also, I might have talked about it before. It's got weird technical issues where
I remember a little bit of it
cars
when I
just
played
disappear while you're fighting, like or driving around the city. They'll just vaporize. They're gone.
Remember, there were a lot of audio, voice
there's some
issues
lines
on the
that play when they
streets.
shouldn't play.
Yeah.
I finally unlocked the ability to glide as Batgirl. It's slower than running. It's
you just run everywhere.
It's useless. No, you use the bat cycle to go everywhere. It's useless.
Yeah, true.
It's such a weird thing. I unlocked the ability to have like a drone that she has, and the drone can shoot people, and I have to get 20 kills that way, even though we don't kill. But I have to get 20 of those. But the drone is so weak, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. So I got to look up a way to fight.
I'm sure
weaker
somebody
enemies.
has a guide on that.
Yeah, it's awful. So that's the main part is done now. It's a collect-a-thon, which is great, I guess. I've now put a significant amount of time into the full release of Infinity Nikki.
I downloaded it and I played the beginning.
Right, to get to the other world kind of a thing.
Yeah.
This is like the chillest game of all time. It's great. Because you just kind of run around. It looks great. You just kind of run around and hang out and collect stuff and catch bugs and catch fish and craft outfits and do other things. And there's some enemies to fight, but you just shoot a ball at them and they die. Yeah, man, it's just kind of like you hang out. I told you it has like weird Breath of the Wild vibes because it's just, hey, here's the map, go check it out kind of a thing. There's really no punishment to do anything you're not supposed to do. I just got to some new area where I'm climbing up mountains and stuff and collecting more stuff, and it's meant to be super easy, but I don't know.
I laughed at your cat companion is named Momo. That's the name of one of my cats.
Of course.
So.
But
when that came up, I was like, of course.
But yeah, so like you can just kind of you can get outfits to do different things, to solve puzzles. There's quote unquote dungeons. Like I had to go through a sewer to turn on electrical boxes. But it's not difficult. It's not punishing. It's never going to be like you feel like you're stuck. I don't think.
Would you say it's maybe more of a kid-friendly Genshin?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. My daughter's played it a little bit. Okay. She just likes to. I was like, here, you probably will love this. Game, yeah, it's colorful.
I
told her
drawing kids in very easily.
You can change the outfits to do whatever you want. You can run around and I've got a bike at one point. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's one of those like turn your brain off kind of a thing. Put a movie on, and you can just hang out and do this. Trophies and stuff seem like they're going to take a while because it is a lot of like collect a lot of this, collect a lot of that.
But that feels right for one of these free to play type games. That's kind of
it's a lot, but yeah, it's kind of I don't know. It's fun to chill. No inverted controls, so that is a huge pain in my ass. But
I feel like they'll update that.
I hope so.
Because what was the other one that launched that way?
The one I couldn't do it was that Tower of Fantasy game. I want to say.
Okay.
This one, for whatever reason, it's not as bad. That game was unplayable, probably because it was action based. This is not. This is just kind of explore. Other than that, I put a lot of time into Black Ops Zombies mode because I don't really give a shit about the multiplayer. I will play the campaign. At least play the campaign's
pretty solid. Yeah,
I will. But I'm just playing the zombies with my buddies. It's really fucking good.
What's the last zombies mode you tried? That's what I was gonna ask.
This is what's gonna turn a lot of people off. The last zombies mode I played was the one that had the bus. Remember, you get on the bus, it would take you around. You start like
I'm trying to think of which one it was though.
Black Ops 2, maybe.
Okay.
You're in like the bus
terminal. Did you not play the?
I did Ghosts, that shitty aliens thing.
Infinite Warfare one, because that wasn't that the one with the 80s.
I tapped out at Ghosts. Oh no, wait, maybe did I play that?
That was one that had the 80s thing, remember? Because they gave us little slap wristbands at work. Yeah,
maybe I played some of that.
Okay,
but if anything,
I mean that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, if anything, it's the last one. Yeah, okay. I was at GameStop when that came out, so that was a while ago. This version, I fucking love the zombies.
Okay.
I love the dumb Easter eggs.
Have they made it any easier? Or is it still just insane?
It's difficult and it gets crazy as fuck, but that's what makes it good.
Yeah, I mean it's easier when you play obviously with
right
with a,
and trying to solve the puzzle while you're doing it. That's the frustrating part because you know, all the puzzles are solved within hours because there's people that dedicate their lives to this stuff.
There are,
but even when you know what to do, it's not easy. Yeah. And so we did the first one. We're done. We managed to do that one. That gets crazy as fuck towards the end. The second one, we're like probably 3/4 of the way through it, but that one is obviously, you know, a lot more complicated because you're taking a boat to these different islands and collecting stuff and getting all these pieces and putting this thing together and opening that, and there's a math puzzle and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the new map just dropped, which is like the castle one. That one's cool.
Okay.
Like I like that one a lot because they have one of the pieces of the puzzles. There's like 4 wonder weapon swords in it that you
That's cool.
take from these statues, and you have to go charge them up, and then you have to do something with them. And then when you finally get it unlocked, then it's like you can destroy stuff with it. So they're not only are they weapons you can use, but they're part of the puzzle. We're about halfway through the puzzle on that because you got to charge up all the swords.
I was gonna say, I think the last one that I played a lot, like I played a little bit of the Infinite Warfare, but the last one I played a lot of the zombie mode of was Advanced Warfare.
Oh boy!
So it's been a while.
No, I like this one a lot. You know, it took a while to relearn all of it, but now that I got it, yeah, and they've got all the dummy strikes too. Like you can go bowling in the first map, and
okay,
you can shoot this thing or blow up this thing, and then zombies fall from the sky. That's cool. In the new map, you can serve drinks at the bar, and like there's just a whole bunch of weird.
Do they have any like famous actors voicing the characters you play as in this map this year?
Not that I've noticed, because this one, again, I haven't played ones before.
That started to become kind of the norm, but again, that was also a decade ago.
Like a quote unquote story mode to it.
Okay.
And depending on which character you play as, they'll have different dialogue that will appear because you're part of the story. But I haven't paid attention to like anybody famous or anything like that. So I played a lot of that. I'm having fun with that. That's just like every so often kind of a game. And then the last major thing I started was that Dragon Quest III HD remake.
Yeah. Which I have as well.
Yeah, I've never played that game before. The only Dragon Quest game I've ever finished is 11, but I've played like parts of 7 and.
I was gonna say I think I played parts of
9 on the DS.
I finished 8 back in the PS2. I played parts of 9, which is a great game.
Yeah.
And then 11 is one I should finish. So.
Yeah, but now that they're doing this where they're going to, you know, kind of release these in order again, it seems.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm all in to play it. Like, it looks incredible. To start with, it's visually amazing.
It's like the Octopath style.
Yeah, it's that weird, like, 3D, 2D, like you're looking down on the map kind of thing. Yeah, it's great. It is, but at its core, it is still very old. I'm an old school RPG. So like there's grinding, there's equipment management, there's
Can you speed things up? Like the Final Fantasy releases or no?
Can you? I don't know. Maybe you can. I haven't paid attention. I typically don't do that when I play these games.
Oh, I mean, I do that every time I play those, but I mean, those are games I've played many times.
Yeah, I typically don't do that when I play these games. Okay. But maybe you can, and I just don't remember. But it's been like a week since I played it. I got to go back. But it is cool because the beginning is very much like the tutorial area, and it kind of teaches you what to do. But then when you get out of that, the map is huge. And it is, for the most part, like you kind of wander around and kind of explore and figure out what to do next. You can turn on the thing that will be like, do you want me to show you where to go next? You could turn that on. I don't turn that on because I want to figure it out. But I have run into problems where like, okay, this is clearly where I'm supposed to be, but I'm very under leveled. So I'll have to go back out and fight and level up and all that kind of stuff. It has a good mechanic or it has a good party system where you recruit party members.
Okay.
And they have different abilities and stuff, so you can kind of build your party the way you want. Very much like an old school like Final Fantasy game and stuff where you would pick your jobs. I kind of have my team of people that are working, and you know, I'm like the main damage person. I have a tank, I have a healer, and I have a magic person. So, but you could play it any way you want, which is what's cool about it. Yeah, it's really good. It's challenging, but not insane, which is probably what I want out of an RPG like that. And I can't even tell you how far I am because I'm not quite sure what the length of this game is, but that's probably a good thing. I'd rather the game take longer.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm excited for 1 and 2 come out, and I'm glad that they did this thing too, where like they're releasing them in chronological order,
in the correct order, that
the release order. Because if you really want the story, now you'll be able to get it.
Is this remake of it? Is it voice acted or is it all text?
Has there been? I think there's some voice acting.
Okay,
it's mostly text. I want to say there are some voices, but not enough to the point where you would even notice or probably care.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. The whole like, are you male or female thing that was kind of a issue beforehand.
The only thing I would say that's probably weird about that is getting that armor, because the text is still in the game.
There's a lot of text that's still in the game that refers to what you pick. At one point, like you can become king or queen of this one thing is like a kind of like a joke thing that happens in the game. Okay. They blatantly say it. So I don't understand what the whole issue with what the character looks like is.
Yeah, I don't know what the point
that makes no sense to me, especially since it's a 2D sprite from a game from 40 years ago. But whatever. But yeah, that game's great. I got to finish that. Like you said, you and I picked up a whole bunch of random just kind of stuff. I bought Balatro. I haven't started it.
I have Balatro. I have
we got Sandland.
That Ash vs. Evil Dead thing. We both got copies of Sandland. I did get a copy of Space Marine 2.
That Oiling Chronicle thing, which is like the Suikoden like knockoff kind of a thing.
You and I both got that too.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like a whole bunch of just random stuff that we picked up because it was cheap.
And then I have a late breaking one. You don't even know about this. I saw as I dropped that. I saw late last night, and I caved on it because it hit. I wanted it to hit 20, but I don't think I'm gonna see it hit 20 for a while. It hit 25. Amazon had it first, and they were sold out, but Best Buy still had it. The PS4 Red Dead hit 25, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. So, because I've been watching, like, I've seen a lot of like TikTok, Facebook style videos of like clips of Red Dead 2, and it's been giving me the itch to play a Red Dead game. So,
I would like to replay the first one, but yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, I kind of want to replay the first one because it's been long enough,
right?
And now playing at 60 frames would be cool. So. But so that I think it was back ordered, so it's going to be a little bit before I get it. But that was a random, like, watching the Game Awards last night. I saw that and I was like, you know what? When is it going to hit 20? Now that I bought it, at some
point, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah, so I picked that up, and I mean, who knows when I'll get to that? But that was my like last minute late. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
So,
but that's pretty much those are the main things. There's always little stuff here and there, but that's the main stuff that I've played.
Yeah, for sure. So, we can dive into the news. I for fun this time, because it's such a big event. It just happened. I moved up the top. We're gonna do it by top stories.
There you go.
So the top story is going to be, obviously, the Game Awards just happened. At the time of us recording this, it happened last night. You and I have both seen it.
Yep.
So, and I watched. I will say I did not watch the pre-show. So
I did watch that.
That was one thing.
I watched all of it, but I did watch it after the fact.
Yeah, I watched it live, but the pre-show, I forgot they do that, and then I went to sit down to eat dinner. I told my girlfriend, like, I'm going to start watching the Game Awards, because she was not interested in watching it, and I put it on, and the minute I saw it was a pre-show, I'm like, we don't have to watch this.
Don't worry about it.
It's like, we got a half hour.
So you didn't miss much except awards that even the award show doesn't care about.
Yeah,
and a couple announcements where there were some good ones in there.
Ninja Gaiden,
right?
I think the Ninja Gaiden Ragebound was one of the cooler ones I saw. Which is just it's a 2.5, or is it just a 2D? Is it 2D or 2.5?
It's like it's a 2D like side scroller.
But the thing that's cool is it's made by the people that made the Blasphemous games, which is cool. Those games are pretty good. Slay the Spire 2 will drop in early access in 2025. Matt's favorite game, not here. Dave the Diver is getting a Jungle DLC expansion sometime in late 2025.
That was a weird one because they were showing it. You're like, oh, cool, Dave the Diver stuff. I think it was late 25. It's like, that's a year from now.
Yeah,
that is kind of crazy. That's a year. Like, that's longer than it seems.
These other ones I can't really speak to because I didn't see anything on.
Thick as Thieves. Think of it as like, it looks like it's a Dishonored era kind of a game. where you're all trying to steal the same thing at the same time. So multiplayer competition game. It looks interesting, but I feel like it's the kind of game where how many scenarios could that game possibly have?
But yeah,
steal the same 6 items from the same 6 places against 4 people. That's going to get real fucking boring real fast when somebody figures out the optimal way to do every level. It's one of those games where I just don't feel like it's going to have staying power.
Yeah, no, I agree there.
Shadow Labyrinth is real fucking weird.
Okay.
It is a Pac-Man game, but if you watch it, it's not a Pac-Man game. It involves like you're like a guy with like a Pac-Man thing with you, and you're in this like weird, creepy dungeon thing, and you have to get Pac-Man to like eat the darkness. I don't. You need to watch it later because it's real fucked up.
Because that actually sounds interesting.
I don't know what it actually is, but it kind of looked cool. I don't know.
They have any kind of date on it or no?
No, I don't think it did. Most of the stuff that was on, like even during the show, was all just like 2025.
Yeah, well, that's the common.
Yeah. Steel Paws was just a mobile title from Yu Suzuki. It looked kind of dumb, but it's a mobile game, so it is what it is. Kaiora was literally just like while you're watching, you're going, "Oh, cool! It looks like Terraria," and then at the end, it's like it's Terraria.
It's Terraria.
Yeah, whatever. That's a genre of game now. This is a weird one too because it's multiplayer soccer game. You can see the picture of it right here at the bottom.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Think of it. This is a shit way to say it, just to be an ass. But think of it like Rocket League, but instead of cars, you use people.
Okay.
You know, kind of like how Rocket League is just soccer with cars. This is just Rocket League with people instead of cars. It's one of those games where I think they're hoping to bank on the fact that Rocket League exists and people like Rocket League, and this is soccer inside a box, and you can do crazy shit.
Okay.
Again, it's going to have to catch on for it to have any kind of staying power. It looks good, but who knows what that means in the long run. And then Celeste 2, a sequel to the last one. I can't picture it even in my head right now. So
sure,
I want to say it's like a Diablo-esque game. I want to say, am I right about that? I might be.
I feel like it was because I feel like I saw the tail end of it when I turned on the game.
You might have, and so. I'll say this now because we're going to get into this and we'll talk about like the show as a whole. But like, much like most years, 70% of this is check out this cool indie game. Check out this cool indie game. Wishlist this indie game. It's like I get it. I get that we're in an era where development cycles for AAA stuff are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years long. At this point, so there aren't as many to go around. But I like when you're just bombarding me with stuff that's just indie game after indie game after indie game. They all look the same to me at some point.
At some point, you start to check out.
Yeah, like
because it's the same.
I don't know.
It just becomes too much of the same over and over again.
This is an incredibly long show to show me a bunch of indie games and ads for indie games.
I will say they've done a good job in the last 2 or 3 years of like keeping it pretty much at that 3-hour mark, not counting the pre-show.
Right.
And I think they did a good job of that.
They hit it.
They went over a couple minutes.
But that's still long. It's really
still long. Yeah. It's better than when it started.
For an award show that will give away 10 awards in the span of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
the other thing that I don't like about the format and this has been this way since they went to, they're just on the internet. It's not on an actual like channel on TV, is they'll do a world premiere and then it's over and they won't say anything and it'll just kick over to like 3 trailers that are just actual commercials.
Right.
But they won't say anything. So then you're kind of like, well, what is this?
then
just being a commercial for something you already know about. So
during the pre-show, you got Sydney Goodman there who just, she's just reading those lines off the teleprompter.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out how State Farm is helping games, go to State Farm. No one is checking out how State Farm is helping out.
No one cares about that.
No, I get that that's an ad and like they're paying for it, but like she has this I liked her when she was on IGN just doing like regular stuff. But during this and like every time she does these, she has this like weirdly disingenuous tone about when she's talking, where it's like, I don't believe a word she says when she's talking to me during this time.
I know what you mean.
It's just an odd feeling when I'm watching. To be fair, Jeff does it too, but
he does.
It kind of sticks out.
But then the show kicked off. I will say right off the bat, I think the first trailer they showed should have been how they ended the show. That's my opinion.
It's definitely one of the stronger ones that existed.
I think it's the strongest trailer they showed. I mean, some people might argue, but they started with showing The Witcher 4. Which I will say they did preface several times at the beginning. This is a far away game. It's not coming out next year. I don't think there was a date attached to it.
No, well, because Project Red doesn't do that until it's close,
and we know their history.
And Cyberpunk taught them a big lesson about that.
It did. And I mean, so there is controversy around this game, and I'll go into that later. But I will say, for me, I was happy with the trailer. It's the natural progression of where the story was going to go. You were always going to play as Ciri in the next Witcher game, and that's what they're doing. There are some lore. There are some questionable things with the lore in the trailer that has some fans upset.
Why don't you give them a couple years to get it sorted out and explain it to you?
It's also a game that's, I would argue, is probably at least 4 to 6 years away, if I were to bet. They're going to take their time. I don't think this is a game you might be able to play a version of it on PS5, but I don't think it will be built for PS5.
Right.
But for me, this was the strongest trailer they had, and I thought it was a great way to open the show. I would have held this for the end, but that's me.
There's a reason this one wasn't the end, but yes, I get what
there's a major reason why, which we'll get to. But then they went right from this into another. I guess it was kind of a shocker for some people.
I don't think anybody saw this coming.
Nobody saw it coming, but it's also not what you think it is, which is Elden Ring Night Rain. Now, immediately when they first showed it, everybody assumed it's Elden Ring 2, which it is not. Looking into the game further, because I looked into it after, and I think a lot of people are not paying attention to what this game is. It is not a traditional Souls game. It is something different. It is meant to be a 3-person. This was the night of 3 people co-op games. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
As we'll go on, there are a lot of 3-player co-op games. I don't know why 3 is now the magic number, but it used to be 4, now it's 3. But this game, it's a 3-person co-op game. It's not like a traditional Souls game. It sounds like there's only going to be a couple different classes. They're going to be more streamlined. One of the most interesting things about it is more of a roguelike game, but it's also pulling in elements of Battle Royale. So it takes part of the Elden Ring map, and then when you start, from what I read, they are matches. I guess we'll call them matches, but they are matches that are 45 minutes. And at each 15-minute interval, the game will drop a random boss into the map that you have to defeat to move forward. But it also has that Battle Royale ring around the map that will keep closing in.
Okay.
And the rain, I think, is what they're cheekily calling it Night Rain, but it's supposed to be like some sort of acid rain or something. And it flips the story of Elden Ring on its head. If you can follow the story of Elden Ring, which I'd say is about as convoluted as any of the Souls games, in my opinion. But it's not the game people like. People that the Souls bros and the people that love Souls watch this trailer and just immediately assume it's Elden Ring 2. It's not. It is something different. So I implore people that are interested in this to look into it, because I do think when it comes out, I think it will find its audience. I think there'll be a lot of people that are really into it. I am happy to see From Software do something different with the Souls brand. But at the same time, I think there's going to be a group of Souls players that do not like this game at all when it comes out, that are going to be turned off by it when they realize it's not a traditional Souls game. Still, I will say, for stuff that was announced, this was one of the bigger surprises. I had no idea. I don't think anybody did. Nobody guessed it. So pretty cool. This one I have to chuckle at. The creator of Shadow of the Colossus, Ico, and The Last Guardian. He's at it again. He's making another game.
Just keep giving him chances.
It does not have an official title. It's just simply called Project Robot. They showed a very eco Last Guardian type trailer for this game. It looks very much like one of those games. There's not really much to say about it, but again, it's also one of those where like I feel like you're going to see a trailer for this every 2 to 3 years for the next 10 years. Is what I think. And at some point, we'll get the title of it. So, everyone's favorite doofus CEO, Joseph Ferris, came up on stage. I mean, I will say the man is passionate about. He doesn't give a fuck, and he is passionate about making cooperative games, and that's cool. And he does in a time where you don't get, especially split screen is kind of a dead thing. He is keeping it alive,
and he's committed to the buy it once, 2 people can play it. Like, not only that, and it would be one thing if like his games weren't good. They're very good,
but they're good. Yeah, I didn't play It Takes Two, but I know you and I played A Way Out.
Yeah,
and like
we love that game, dude.
It didn't fully come together at the end, but I still enjoyed it
a little bit at the end. But throughout the game, like we were having a blast,
real fun time with it. Yeah, and this one looks good too. So this is called Split Fiction. I think it's 2 female protagonists. One is one is a fantasy writer and one is a science fiction writer, and they kind of get thrust into this like VR world. But the point of it, when they get thrust into the world, the whole point is they're trying to escape the world, but each level of the game changes.
Their worlds overlap. Yeah.
Yeah. So like one level you're going to play is in a fantasy setting, and then the next one's going to be in a sci-fi setting. And it looks really cool. It does have the split screen thing, so you can play split screen. Like you said, it's going to come with the pass. That guy's still committed to that. And it's scheduled for March 6th. Yeah. So it's not far away.
And it looks fun. And it looks fun. Based on those other visually. Games he made, I know it's going to be good. So that was one of the better announcements. So and I had a feeling when they said he was going to be there that it would be something that'd be right around the corner, right?
Because that guy seems to hold things until they're really ready to go. I mean, I will say this, another thing that there was a hot thing here was free to play games. There were a lot of free to play games. This one I actually had mild interest in because it reminds me a little bit of Titanfall, but the people behind World of Tanks Wargaming have a new game coming out called Steel Hunters. It does very much look like Titanfall. It definitely will be a free to play game, but I actually thought it looked pretty interesting. So that's one I will keep an eye on. Let's talk about, for me, I don't know where you sit with it. For me, this was the biggest disappointment trailer wise.
I don't get it because you get Randy to come out. And
we'll say it was a known.
We all knew it was coming. Like there was hype for it ahead of time because they had announced the game existed a couple months ago. It's time for a new one. It's time to fix the mistakes of Borderlands 3.
We had our shitty movie out.
The movie, fucked. And now I'm curious because this game looks bad too. And
it doesn't look good.
It looks bad in the sense that visually it looks like Borderlands 2. I wouldn't even say it looks like Borderlands 3. It looks like Borderlands 2. It still has that grainy, like the cell shaded stuff is fine. I get it. That's the style of the game.
Yeah.
But there's a way to do it where it doesn't look like shit. This looks like shit. The trailer did absolutely nothing to explain to you what this game is, how it's the story is different. No. How it's any different from these other games. What the story could possibly be. You get a brief shot of the 4 characters. All the designs look like garbage. Like this was quite possibly the worst way to build hype for this game I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think it just had a generic 2025 date. I would assume it's a fall 2025 game.
But like, does this game have to be brown again and red again? Like, why in the Borderlands 3 at least had color in some areas.
It had color in some areas, but like my biggest thing is like you mentioned the grain effect, and like it does. It has the same like sludgy grain,
weird textures
that it's had since Borderlands 2.
Pixely, blocky.
It like that was the first thing I said when they started playing the trailer to my buddy was like, it just looks like the same Borderlands game we've always gotten.
Right.
It doesn't look any different. It doesn't look like it's pushing any new ground. Like I said, I couldn't tell you what the story is of the game.
No, it's not, and the problem is, you know what, man? Like, I'm sorry, it's not like 2008 anymore.
No,
it needs to look better.
Having a bajillion guns in the game doesn't sell it for me anymore.
No, that's not the selling point. I want the game. This game should look mind-blowing on a PS5 today.
It should.
It looks like a PS4 launch title at best.
Let me ask this question, because I did notice, I forgot to mention it, but I did notice it, and it made me cringe a little bit at the end of the Elden Ring trailer to see the PS4 logo attached to that. But was there a PS4 logo attached to this? To be fair, I didn't see. Because the Elden Ring trailer graphically looked better than this.
Yes.
And that's a game that will be on PS4, because I cringe at that. I'm like, it's 2025. We need to stop.
It just does not look good.
No, Borderlands, that was easily my biggest disappointment. Like, I already wasn't like extremely hyped, because I didn't think the little bit I played the last one I didn't care for. And I especially like humor wise, I think it's gone in the
right, and that's
direction.
what I'm saying. Like, Borderlands 3 was like a real down point, and this could have picked it back up.
It could have.
We could have done something else. We don't have to be.
Water.
We don't have to be on Pandora anymore. We don't have to recycle the same characters anymore. It could have been something new, and instead, it looks like a DLC for a game from 15 years ago.
Yeah, just I don't know. For me, that was the biggest.
Incredibly disappointing.
Yeah. Tekken 8 is going to be adding Clive, I think, next week, December 19th.
Yeah.
So Clive
He's
from
a final
Fantasy 16.
I had a problem with this announcement, because I think Jeff said it right before. He's like, an unprecedented thing is happening, or whatever. And we'll talk more about Jeff later. But an unprecedented thing, because he forgot that Noctis, the star of 15, was in Tekken 7, I guess. They literally have done this before.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason that there's a campaign that people want Tifa in Tekken 8.
When I heard him originally say that, I thought they were announcing a new Final Fantasy game. So when Clive walked out, I was like, okay, they're making another game with this dude. And then it was like in Tekken 8.
For a split second, I thought it was going to be like, remember how they did that like Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition?
Yeah.
They were like chibi guys or whatever.
Yeah, and it was crazy.
Yeah, so I thought maybe this is it. Maybe they found a way to make like a scaled back version of 16 for phones, or something. That would be cool. Yeah. No, they're just putting them in Tekken, which is still cool, but they literally did it the last Tekken game. This isn't unprecedented. It's happened before in the exact same way that this has happened. So that's just, part of the Jeff experience, I guess.
And we rolled from that right into one of the bigger surprise announcements of the night, that Virtua Fighter is coming back, but it is developed by RGG, the Yakuza makers.
Well, here's my argument for that and why it's a good thing. Name another developer that's done anything for the Virtua Fighter franchise more than RGG has. Virtua Fighter is a key part of like Judgment and the Yakuza games, because you can literally play that fucking game in there.
True. I didn't think of it that way.
And Lost Judgment, you join the esports club, and the game you play is Virtua Fighter.
I have nothing against RGG doing this.
I think it's great. They clearly have reverence for this franchise. These are the people that should be doing it.
Agreed. I think it's cool to bring back Virtua Fighter.
Yes,
and it's time.
We should be in the era where we're getting a Tekken 1 year. We're getting a Tekken 1 year, a Virtua Fighter, and then a Soul Calibur, and we should be living in that cycle again.
And then throw in a new DOA.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I want a DOA.
DOA, you just take pictures now, man.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
You just date the ladies now in DOA.
Yeah, but not the ones you want.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones we added to the game that never came out in America. That's who you have to date.
For sure. And then the other RGG had two announcements here. The other one was their new game. It's just simply called Project Century.
That game looks rad as fuck.
That game looks rad as hell. Yeah, it's set in 1915 Japan.
It's just like stabbing dudes in the face.
And like the way that the person writes it up in the article, and I think it's a good way to describe it, is think Yakuza meets Sleeping Dogs. And that's kind of what it seemed like.
What kind of vibe?
More violent?
Yeah, that's the kind of vibe I was getting off of it.
Yeah. So it looks awesome.
It's set in like 1915. or something.
And that's also, I feel like a game that's probably a while away. I don't think it's like a.
I don't know, man. RGG's weird.
They're crazy.
They got a pirate game coming out soon.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say I'm surprised that was not here, but I mean that's also we've seen a lot of it, and it's coming out in a couple months.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite announcements of the night. I don't know if the game will be good. But I joked a couple years ago when this came up on the screen because I thought that's what it was, and it ended up being something else. I played the same joke to my friend this year, but it turned out to be a new Turok.
Crazy.
So Turok is returning with Turok Origins, made by Saber Interactive, who I believe made the 2008 one too. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, they might have.
Which is kind of crazy. It's been since 2008 since we got a new Turok. There were obviously Night Dive Studios have done those like amazing remakes of 1, 2, and 3. But this is also returning as I guess it's a multiplayer. When I say multiplayer, I think cooperative, but it's a 3-player third-person shooter. I don't know. I'm just happy that for some reason in 2024 I'm getting a new Turok game.
So weird.
So. And that leads into one of the other big surprises and probably one of my favorite announcements of the show. Because I will say right now, spoiler, but there was no Resident Evil here. But I didn't walk away disappointed because instead I got something that I've wanted for a while. I thought last year I called they were making this and it ended up being, I think, Rise of the Ronin. But this turned out to be true this year. We are getting a new Onimusha. Onimusha Way of the Sword.
That's crazy.
It looks awesome. It'll be the first new Onimusha since 2006.
Since the PS3.
Yeah. It clearly is running on the re-engine, and I think again this is a perfect way to use the re-engine because we've learned like open world doesn't really work well for the re-engine. So with Dragon's Dogma, like it works, but not as good as you would want it to because that game still, even on a PS5 Pro, has problems. And I don't know if you've seen any of the recent footage of Monster Hunter Wilds. That also runs on the re-engine and looks kind of rough.
It does look a little bit rough, yes.
Where I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be using that engine for this because I don't think that was a problem with Worlds. So, because you and I played that and that ran fine. But I'm just happy Onimusha's back. I can speak for Matt. He's very excited that Onimusha is back.
Yes, he is very excited.
So, at first I was like, I thought I was like, maybe they'll make a new Tenchu. Maybe we'll make him happy. But he got Onimusha. So, I think that is pretty awesome. This next one probably
that game to be noted though. Like, is it coming out until 26?
2026. I think it'll be early. 2026 is my guess. This next one was one of my other bigger disappointments for the show. The developers of Overcooked are making a new game. It's not Overcooked 3. They're trying something new called Stage Fright, but they didn't really show much of the game.
Get it? Like, what is it?
They did one of those, and the Game Awards have done this in the past, where they kind of like did the characters come out on stage, kind of like through computer animation. It just never looks
silly.
good. Yeah, they tried to be silly. It never looks good, but that hurt this game by not showing much of what this game is.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know. It might come out. I mean, Overcooked 1 and 2 are fantastic games, but like I walked away from this saying I would have rather an Overcooked 3. So it's been long enough. But we'll see. I didn't see enough of it. And then to follow that up, this was disappointing only in that I didn't see enough of it. And that is, we got the announcement that they are going to finally make another Sonic racing game.
This was another bullshit thing about this Game Awards thing with Jeff, where he's like, this game, check out this super great world premiere and this great franchise.
I've played it.
And then there's a 5-second shot of Shadow sitting on the cart, and that's all we're showing you. And Jeff goes, I've played it, it's great.
Sonic Racing Cross Worlds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I'm super pumped. Those games are great.
Yeah.
Awesome kart racers that I think stand very close to Mario Kart 8. And I'm more than happy to have another one of those. But I would like to see a little bit of the game.
Doesn't need to be here.
Yeah. So, Another favorite of the show for me, but we already knew this was going to be here because it was announced ahead of time, was Mafia: The Old Country. I think this looks great.
I think it looks like a step backwards.
You think it's a step backwards? Okay. I don't know. I'm excited to go to Sicily. So
yeah, but like you and I have talked about it before. Like Mafia 3 was so good because it took a step forward.
It took a step
into
forward and
something
had
new.
a really interesting protagonist. The problem with that game is the opening and like the first couple hours of it, fantastic.
Great game.
It falls off
it does.
and becomes too much of the same.
It becomes boring after a while.
And that's my fear for this too.
Right.
Is like they could fall that trap.
That's why I feel like it's going backwards because
it's obviously a prequel. But,
sure, but at least with like Mafia 3, we were set in what, like the 60s or the 70s?
68, I think, or something like that.
And like the cars and like the setting music. And all of it was so good. And like you said, the protagonist was great. This one, like, I'm excited for like the mafia aspect of it and like the family, but I have a feeling that going backwards again, back to 19 whatever again, is going to take away from the stuff that would make a game like that fun.
We'll see. I don't know. It looked great visually, I thought. So
it does look good. Like the scene looked really good, but it just felt like
they said summer. I'm thinking August was my guess.
Yeah.
That's usually, from my remembering past ones, that's typically when those games
got to be out before GTA, right?
I mean, we can talk about GTA, but I don't think that hits in 2025.
Not anymore.
I don't think it hit. Did you see? I'll briefly. Have you ever seen those TikTok, Instagram videos of like the bullshit ones? Because I've been laughing about these with Matt. They're like, I'm a time traveler and I came from blah blah blah, and then they'll be like, these events will happen in 2025. And one of them that I saw recently is like, someone asked me, when does GTA 6 finally come out? And the guy's response was spring 2027, and I laughed and said, I actually believe that. So it's like one of the only ones I'm like, I can see that happening though. So but yeah, I would tell you, I don't think Mafia, it does have to come out before GTA.
Has to.
I don't think it coming out in August has any problem.
No, I know. I'm just saying it better come out before GTA or it's dead.
It's dead. No, I agree with that. One of the biggest announcements of the night, I don't have reverence.
This is crazy.
I own it, and it is crazy.
This is insane. So when they started showing that little, like, the graphics behind the thing, I'm like, God, that really looks like it could be Okami. And then they start showing Amaterasu start running. I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, is this just like a remaster? Because, you know, they kind of did that back then. And and
I haven't sealed.
No, I was like, they did that already. So that, like, maybe, you know, update. And I'm just like, and it comes up, says Okami sequel. And I'm like, oh my God. I cannot believe this is why I told you before, like, I felt like I was watching the Game Awards from like 2007 because we've got an Okami sequel. We've got another Onimusha game. A Turok game is here.
Yeah.
You know, an early set Mafia game. Like, it felt like this was everything from 15 years ago is back.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a good way, because Okami is a super good Zelda-like.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play it.
It's very good.
When it originally came out, I never played it, and then when they did that remaster, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
I own it. It's still sealed, and this made me think I should open that, maybe play that.
It's good. I bought it for PS2 like the day it came out, and I went home, played it, and I thought it was one of the most like visually interesting, but also like gameplay interesting games I'd played in a while. Especially for a PS2.
I don't know anybody who's played it that doesn't like it.
Yeah, it's just
that's
cool.
the thing. It
just has tons of style, and it's fun, and it's a fun to play like adventure game. I do laugh that the new studio that's making it is just called Clovers as opposed to Clover, which is what it used to be, but it's funny. Yeah, they're having fun. It's wild that we're getting,
and it is important to note that it's the original creator is coming back.
That's what is amazing about it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm guessing this game is probably a couple years away. But I'm immediately something I'm looking forward to, because like if it looked good on PS2 with like the art style and stuff,
yeah, right.
This is going to be crazy good.
And I thought just from the little thing that they mocked up for the Game Awards, because I mean, this game is literally now going into production.
Yeah, that's the important part.
Looks
like,
really
we're starting
cool.
production.
So,
I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, even me as someone who hasn't really played the game, I know what it is immediately when I saw the thing running. I'm like, oh, this is Okami. Like they're gonna actually do this for the people that wanted a sequel. So it's cool.
Before the last one, there's a couple other small ones we missed. I just want to go through because
okay.
One of them was my favorite one from the show, and this is one that not a lot of people are going to give a shit about, but Outer Worlds 2 is finally got a full thing, and the trailer was the way it should have been. It's fun. It's making fun of itself. It's telling you this is the game we wanted to make the first time. I love the first game. I think it's really good. If you're a Fallout person at all and you have not played it, you are missing out on a Fallout game. It's definitely like a New Vegas game. This one just looks great too. It's everything you wanted with more stuff to do. I'll gladly take it. Other small things like Last of Us 2 and Rebirth are coming to PC. Of course they are. Rebirth still can't make it to Xbox.
That was my joke when they said it was like, we still can't do it for Xbox.
They're not going to do it until it's all done.
Yeah, that seems like that was.
If they ever do it, it's when it's all done.
I think it will come out later that was the agreement.
Probably, and that's fine. I thought there was one other thing. Oh, that dispatch game, which is an adventure kind of a thing about super. I like those kinds of games, so I'm interested.
I think the game looked cool. I could not stand the dumb banter between Laura Bailey and Aaron Paul. That drove me nuts.
Well, that's another part of the show that's like.
Well, we can go over that in a minute.
We'll move on. But the banger of the announcements, right? The one you didn't see. Helldivers 2 content too.
Yeah, that content actually looks pretty cool.
It looks really good.
And that's important to note. That's already out. I think that released during the show.
Yeah.
I guess the other banger of the show is that for kind of a surprise, Naughty Dog decided to show their new game here. I'm happy to report it's not Last of Us Part 3 as I thought it would be.
Right.
I'm sure they are making a Last of Us 3, and I think
for sure
that I'm sure that is on a whiteboard somewhere. But this was rumored a while ago that they were going to go the sci-fi route.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a sci-fi game called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. I agree with you. I don't think
this game does not need a subtitle in any form, let alone some bullshit generic sci-fi spooky special lore characters subtitle bullshit. The Heretic Prophet. Come on, that's the most generic shit you could ever name a game.
When the trailer started, I made the joke to my friend that is this just a reboot of Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter?
I mean. It could be
kind of.
I'm okay, but I'm okay with it being a bounty hunter in space kind of game.
I have
no
problem
fine.
with that. I think so. I'm happy it's super colorful visually.
It looks very good.
I'm always happy for something new in space because that of settings for me it's either space or fantasy.
And you and I were talking about I love the fact that it's a Porsche ship and they've got a Sony audio player.
I don't get. I saw people complain about that. I don't care.
It's fun.
I think that's awesome. It's fun for the game. I have seen banter back and forth about how the main character looks online. We've seen one trailer,
right?
I don't know anything about this character to justify having really a feeling or an opinion of the character.
No.
So it's one trailer that is 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to really speak to that. Whereas, and I alluded to in the beginning, as far as The Witcher goes, and this is where I'll make my comments on that is I have seen people complain two things about The Witcher. One, they're complaining that it messes with the lore, which yes, it does in certain aspects, but that's a game that's 5 to 6 years away.
Guess what? They wrote the lore and they can rewrite it in the middle of the game.
They work with that author.
Right.
So if they want to rewrite it, they can. But the argument that I do see that I cannot entertain, and I think it's just absolutely silly, much like I think there is the extreme woke side of things, there's also the extreme anti-woke side of things. And I think this is where people are getting silly, which is the idea of, they're just sidestepping Geralt to put a woman in charge. This was always the plan for this game. The whole point of The Witcher 3 was setting up Ciri to be the next Witcher. So it's no shock to me that now, 9 years later, we're ready to do The Witcher 4, and you're going to play as Ciri, who is now a Witcher. There might be some questions as to how she got into the role because of the lore, but that was always the plan. So, and I have no problem with playing as her.
Nobody should.
The character's voice does sound different, so that'll be interesting to see. But also, again, it's a game that's 5 to 6 years away.
Right.
So I was happy to hear Geralt's voice at the end of that trailer, and they did confirm he's in the game. So, I mean, you're just not going to play as him, but I think he should be in the game. He should be in the back playing Gwent, being retired
the whole time.
He's going to be like that other mentor guy you had in 3. I can't think of his name, but he's just going to be that character, and that's fine. So, but I will say, even at that, like, overall, if we want to go, through the Game Awards, for me,
I got one more thing about Intergalactic I need to say, because this. No, it's not about the character. I have nothing.
That's fine.
We know nothing about the game, right? But I think it looks great, and I'm interested in the idea that they've shown me. That's what I'll say. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to tell me that you're going to name a game Intergalactic, and it's in space, and she's going to put a CD on to fly her ship into this thing, and you don't put on Intergalactic by the fucking Beastie Boys.
There you go.
What the hell is your problem?
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, she put on like Pet Shop Boys.
She put on Pet Shop Boys, which is fine.
It's fine.
But you're specifically using CD-based technology to put on a song to do this.
Sony. Yeah.
And the name of the game is Intergalactic. And you could have timed it where when the title came up on the screen at the end, they said the word Intergalactic.
Yeah.
Somebody out there needs to recut this trailer.
I'm sure it's already happened.
With that song playing, doing that, because I just thought to myself, I'm like, it was right there.
It was right there.
You had it. You had it right there. And you fucking missed it. And it's just it's a weird one. I do like that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross or whatever doing the soundtrack. That's good. Yeah, it means you're gonna get some cool
they have done really good sci-fi music in the past. And the other one that comes to mind, whereas I don't think the show was particularly great, but that 2019 Watchmen HBO show, they did the soundtrack for that. That was really good. So they have done some kind of weird stuff in the past, like for TV shows and for movies, and I think they're a good fit for what this game is to do that kind of. You can get some really good like synth wavy stuff and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of the sounds I think you want in the background of this game, especially if you're like flying around doing stuff. I think Trent Reznor likes to, every once in a while not make dark, moody 9-inch Nails music, so this gives him an opportunity to do that. But yeah, I
trust Naughty Dog to make a game that at the very least looks amazing and plays very well.
Yeah.
The story we'll see. But also, was the guy in the computer just Kumail Nanjiani? That was him, right?
I don't know.
Go back and watch it again when we're done.
Okay.
I swear to God, that's him on that computer.
Okay.
Maybe I wanted to see it.
Oh, it is. No, okay. Yeah, it is. They did. Okay, so yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
They did confirm that after the trailer because they confirmed who the actress is that plays
I saw that.
The main character, and they confirmed him. Okay. He's actually a big part of the story.
Okay, yeah, because I saw his face. I'm like, that's definitely him. So he's going to be huge.
I said the same thing.
He's going to be a huge part of this story.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But it was cool. I was surprised they did it here. You think they would announce that at like a Sony event?
No, I think Sony made them do it here.
You think they did? Okay. Yeah. But also, we needed to know what the next thing is from Sony.
Yeah.
So, at a show where, like, we didn't really... I mean, you probably weren't going to ever see a real Nintendo thing here.
Oh, God, no.
The Game Awards is kind of gotten into... It's just kind of a third-party show at this point.
It's an indie game show.
It was nice to at least see one thing from Microsoft, which was Outer Worlds. Mm-hmm. But I mean, again, it was nice to have at least
Nintendo
one
stuff
thing.
Was just commercials.
Yeah,
mainly for Zelda.
Yeah, I saw that Zelda commercial several times. So, overall, like for me, I thought this is the best the show has been in a couple years. It's still not without faults.
I think from a start to finish standpoint, it is better than the last couple of years, but that's also a low bar to cover.
It is.
I was talking to a friend of mine. They said it's like you set the bar on the floor and you stepped over it. It's it has a lot of problems, and it still does.
It does.
It's an award show that touts like it's about awards, and then gives away 10 of them in 2 minutes, and just wipes them away. Gives away another half of them during the pre-show.
Yeah.
I will say that this year, the people who should have won.
I agree with that. I don't think there was anything or anybody that was robbed.
No, I don't think so.
Anything that won, like even our big fear of the controversy of like, we're going to put this DLC in here. And I don't know if they changed it last minute to avert it.
Do you want to read this one email?
Yeah, I'm going to read this one. So I'm going to read this email now. But Kevin from Greenview, Illinois says, howdy guys. What'd y'all think of the Game Awards this year? Seems like an easily the best one in the past 4 or 5 years. Jeff seemed to listen to the criticism from last year, as I don't think a single person got played off. I don't think anybody did get played off.
I don't think so.
They definitely spent way more time on the speeches as well. The trailers were all around pretty good to amazing this year. Did this year turn it around? Like you said, I'm in the same boat that you are. I think the bar was on the floor and they simply stepped over it.
Right.
Because the bar was that low. Especially last year was a real slog.
I still have a problem with the fact that he just seems disingenuous when he says it. Like, everything that comes out of his mouth is hype, hype, hype. Video games are the greatest thing that's ever happened. Nothing bad has ever happened in video games. No one's ever released a bad video game. And I would never show you a bad video game ever. So everything I'm showing you is fantastic from world-class developers. They won an award 6 years ago. And it's just like, I get it, man. There were multiple times during this show, and the Okami thing is perfect, where like it looked like he was going to cry.
Okami, I'll give him the Okami one, whatever, because it's a big deal for the people that care. But
sure.
like, that was the one where I'm like, all right, Jeff, you can have your single tier here.
But
there were
multiple times where it looked like he was going to cry. And I get that you're passionate, and I get that you're the reason these awards exist, and I get that you're a big reason games journalism exists. But not everything is fucking perfect, and he acts like it is. He at least had like the self-check this year where they brought the fucking Muppets in to do some jokes, which
the jokes were kind of harsh at times.
Jokes were good. The Kojima thing was fantastic because Kojima clearly has no fucking clue what's happening. But
he actually looked kind of put down at the one joke.
I'm sure Jeff vehemently apologized to him when it was over. Got down, bowed to him. Sorry, Kojima-san, please don't kill me.
I don't know if you saw, but he had a sick brooch he was wearing.
Oh, man. Well, I know. Kojima
had, how many jewels do you think that thing has?
One for every game he's released.
Okay, like that thing was awesome. I'll say that's one of my other disappointments. I didn't get like another Death Stranding trailer here, or literally anything Kojima other than he came out and did his announcement or his presentation for whatever award it was. That when he spoke, it was so long that it was pre-written down for the translator. And I thought that was funny.
Well, the other thing too that I didn't like was we knew Borderlands and Mafia were going to be shown. So outside of that, was there any there wasn't like a major bang aside from Intergalactic? You could tell me Onimusha and Turok, but those we're bringing a dead franchise.
I think
back.
The Witcher 4 is a big enough one because I wouldn't have expected to see it yet.
Right.
Especially, I mean, we know that they're done working on Cyberpunk, but I feel like we just got over that.
That literally just got over it, a couple weeks ago, maybe.
And that DLC, I haven't even played that DLC for it yet. So, but
there's that.
I'd say that was the other big one. But as far as those go, it was. I would say, I feel the announcements were better this year than last couple of years. It still suffers from that same problem of a lot of indie games, a lot of
we're missing. It feels like it's missing something.
Yeah. How many times did he have to remind you that it was the 10th anniversary?
He said it every chance he could. Thank God it's been 10
Snoop
years.
Dogg's here.
Snoop Dogg's here. He's going to be here. He's
going to be here. He's going to sing you a new song that's so bad. In the middle of it, he's going to switch to singing one of his old songs.
Yeah, I checked out during that. And,
I will say I turned my sound off during the 21 Pilots thing.
I didn't even watch it, skipped it
because I don't care about them. But I left it on for Snoop Dogg, and I laughed because when he started singing the news, I'm like, this is not great, and it quickly turned into that older song.
I did miss a highlight. We did miss talking about one highlight.
Okay,
the orchestra playing the medley thing, always great.
Always great.
Your fucking guy was back, dude. The guy with the multi-instruments who's so fucking into it.
Yeah. God, and he was into it this year.
He was amped this year.
Yeah.
He
was the real winner.
He's the real winner every year. He plays like 10 instruments. He's standing up. He's dancing during it.
Yeah. That dude is great.
His hair. Fuck, that guy rules.
I kind of forgot about that too.
And I laughed because they would always like cut to him whenever he was playing a new instrument. And then they would cut to like somebody who's maybe like 6 seats down from him, and they're always just looking directly at him while they're playing their violin or whatever, because they can see that guy going ape shit in the corner. The guy rules.
Yeah, no, but yeah, like I said, overall, I think it was better than it's been in the last couple of years. But again, the bar is already so low.
Yeah, it's still too long.
For an award show that has to cram 3 or 4 awards in like 2 minutes to show the next 6 trailers,
right?
I feel like we could cut this to 2 hours.
A lot of commercials, or cut it to 3 with the pre-show. Cut out a half hour.
We don't need that half hour.
Or if you're going to do the pre-show, don't show reveals in there. Like that should be for indie games that are already out.
That is
Sizzle
the time
reels
for her to talk about State
Farm and all the sponsors that are making this show possible.
Yeah,
like that's what that's for.
Yeah,
it's not for giving away. Well, they were giving away important awards during the pre-show, like best family game and stuff. It's like that's an important game, and of course it was Astrobot. So those guys had to take awards from up here. They had to take it from down here. But those guys, like, hell yeah, man.
Astrobot cleaned house, but it deserved to.
It won what it should have won. It was nice to see Metaphor win a couple things.
It was. That is the one Black Friday game I did not get because I can go a little cheaper by the time I'm ready to play it, but I really want to.
What else won? Final Fantasy won the music, which it should, because the music in that game is incredible.
Yeah, I agreed with that too, actually. When
didn't need to win anything else, but music for sure, like, God, that game goes so hard on music.
I saw people upset about it, but I was happy that Silent Hill did not win anything because at the end of the day, it's a remake.
Yeah, it did not need to.
Yeah,
we talked about it before.
Remake, but
there was awful lot of bullshit about putting a DLC game as a Game of the Year nominee for it to mean nothing.
To do it.
Yeah. If you're gonna do it, fucking do it. Like, don't pussy out. Put something else in there. What was the other one Fallout won Best Adaptation? That's correct. Like, I know people like Arcane, but Fallout nailed it.
Well, the fact that they also had like the shitty Tomb Raider anime there that people do not like, and there was one other one too that was questionable.
Didn't have enough stuff to nominate.
And that's where it really felt. I'm like, okay, well, it's probably just Fallout because Last of Us didn't have a season this year.
It was Fallout or Arcane.
Fallout deserved it.
Fallout deserved it.
That actually was really good.
They made it real.
Yeah.
Do you want to read that other email we have about Game Awards right below?
Yeah.
Just so we can go over it. We've already talked about it, but
Matt from Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, 572 dudes. I'm curious what your personal favorite announcements from the Game Awards were. Any least favorites? Overall, I thought it was a pretty solid year all around. I think we both collectively agree Borderlands 4 was the worst announcement.
Worst part of the show.
It's just worst. Yeah, the lowest point.
What a complete miss.
For me, I mean, my favorite's The Witcher 4. I know it's 5 to 6 years away, and I mean that gives me time to maybe go back and play through that game again at some point.
Mine's Outer Worlds 2, just because I love the first one.
Outer Worlds 2 would be high up there for me, and then Onimusha, I think, because it was a shock.
Yeah, and then Okami for me, because that was the one where it's like, oh shit, like I cannot believe we're doing that.
And I will say, I will put it in there just because I'm glad it is not Last of Us Part 3, but Intergalactic. I'm glad they're doing something new.
There's a part of me that is optimistic for what that could be.
I'm more optimistic that they're doing something new instead of making a new Last of Us.
Right.
So,
and I don't think we're gonna get back to Uncharted until Last of Us is done. That's when you go back.
And that's it, fine. And like you and I have talked about it for a while, whereas I think you could return to that and have it be his daughter.
And I think that's what we should do. Now if we're going to be
people complain.
If we're going to be this far out, then that's what we should do.
He can still be there. He can be the Sully,
right?
Like character.
It should be it should be Last Crusade type vibes.
Yeah. And I don't think there's a single person who complain about that.
Nope.
So
we'd all love it.
But yeah, that kind of caps the Game Awards. Like I said, not a terrible year for the Game Awards. Hopefully they can keep maybe an upward trend from walking over the bar this year. So
the bar's now a foot off the ground. So
yeah. We can go over some of the other news articles we've had since we've been off here. I put this in here. This is going back a couple weeks, but Square Enix has just simply said we will not cheat with Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3's Airship. So they're going to blow that thing out.
That's another major question about. But we had the same question going from 1 to 2.
I know.
Where it's like, how are they going to do Part 2? Because it doesn't make sense, and they nailed it.
And they nailed it.
So I have no questions that they will get this correct.
This has been going on for a little while, and it seems that it's gained more steam and more validity because this was probably a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. But Sony apparently is in talks to buy Kato Kawaya. I don't know how to say it, but it's the people that own Elden Ring and the Dark Souls developer From Software. Which I don't know if this is the best move, but I'm not surprised that Sony would go after them.
Remember, it's bad when other studios do it, or companies buy studios, but not when we do it.
Yeah.
And that's, to be fair, that's true from both sides.
It is. I put this in here for you. Final Fantasy VI Remake is a dream project for the Dragon Quest III HD producer. That would be his dream project.
I get it, but I wonder how much better he could really make that game. We're talking about the Dragon Quest III thing. That's a Nintendo game or a Famicom game redone for this 2.5D style. Final Fantasy VI, by the time it came out, was a late Super Nintendo game. Not only that, but it's also been remastered. What would we do to go beyond what it is?
Well, and see, that would be my question: is does that guy want to do it in the same vein as the Dragon Quest remakes that we're getting right now, or does he want to do a full blown like Final Fantasy VII remake?
But if you're doing that, I'd rather have Chrono Trigger instead of Final Fantasy VI.
I would too. So that's an easy choice for me too. So I don't know. I just put it in here because I thought it was
it's an interesting thing
that's going to happen.
No, I don't think so ever.
So.
Focus on making all the Dragon Quest games, man.
I also still agree with you. I think when 7 is done, I think they do 10.
That'll be well long enough after 10 that you can do 10.
It doesn't feel like it, but the reality is it has been.
It's disgusting that it has been that long. Yes.
And people will groan until they show it, and then people will be in
Final Fantasy X came out before I even started working in video games. So, yeah, it's been a while.
This is kind of a strange one. Casey Hudson, the Mass Effect trilogy lead, he had a new studio that he had opened called Humanoid Origin. They were working on a game. The studio has closed completely. Whatever game they were making is not happening anymore. So it's kind of crazy. But again, it highlights, and I think I even mentioned it to you today because I didn't put it in here. Obviously, there's the massive, layoffs in the game industry, especially this year, but like not just in developers, but like IGN, which is now when we say that is the largest gaming publication now because they bought a lot of stuff. They laid off people today, so it's everywhere in the games industry. Just further reminds me as a kid who wanted to go into the games industry. I'm glad I did not.
Volatile. I still have a really good friend of mine who still works in the game industry, and he has worked for numerous companies because of this very reason. And it's amazing. Credit to him for being able to continue to keep finding a place to work. But like, it's not easy, man.
No, I couldn't imagine it. I thought this was kind of interesting. Xbox is shutting down the Avatar Editor app and offering refunds starting in January. So I think they're just completely getting away from avatars.
They are.
And obviously avatars in the Xbox One and even the Series era are different than the 360 era.
They were a big deal
They're
in the
not
360.
nearly as predominant. Yeah, it was huge. Do you know how many stupid clothes and shit I bought?
You used to be able
avatar?
to earn clothes for doing achievements.
Earn clothes with different achievements.
Perfect dark shirts.
Different objects that you could have.
Yeah.
Like I had the cross whip.
I had the anniversary Xbox helmet with a Spider-Man t-shirt. And I had a drone or something. I don't even fucking know. Who knows? But like,
it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun because they would do stuff on the screen.
I think part of it too is like when they did introduce it on Xbox One, the way it would take over the screen did not animate very well. So I think that had a lot to do with people, because like they gave you the option on the Xbox One. It's like, hey, you can turn this off if you don't like it. And that was the first thing I did because the animation was so clunky on the Xbox One at the time. I was like, get this out of here. I think a lot of people did that. So, but still kind of crazy. Mortal Kombat 1, which like surprisingly is not sold as well as you would think. Because apparently the further DLC after, I think isn't Ghostface the last one?
For that
he is
season, I think.
But it sounds like they're canceling any further plans for this iteration.
Well, I mean, I've talked about it where I think this one it's a step back. We
both agreed. Like, visually, it looked amazing,
right?
And it plays very well. But
I liked the story. I thought the story was cool because it actually fleshed out all these characters and stuff. But outside of the story, it was a huge step back. The cameo system, major step back. The stupid ass board game bullshit. You took out the best thing. You took out the crypt. Crypt was awesome.
Yeah, for that other mode that I don't even think I tried that mode because I heard you complain
I told you
about
it was
enough.
fucking awful.
I don't care. I don't know. I at this point I want an Injustice 3. It's been long enough. You think it hasn't been, but it's been almost 10 years. So
is it really? Oh, it
2017.
has been. I was still there.
Because remember, we did Mortal Kombat 11, and that was 2019, and then they did this. They just went right into the next.
I have the Injustice 2 counter standee in my other room, so I must have still.
I would love to see another Injustice, and it's been long enough.
It's tough for me because what do you do? Where do you go with it? Because by the end of it, we had the fucking Ninja Turtles in that game. So,
you put them in the story.
Okay, all right. I like it. Take out Superman.
Then also then you get the Street Sharks.
Okay, yes.
And we just get all those
Mighty
90s.
Ducks, the Mighty Ducks from the Mighty Ducks cartoon, right?
Yeah, we just get all the 90s, and now they're a part of it too.
Yes.
You know what? Whatever. That's a Disney property, but sure, let's do it. Like, we'll pay them their blood money.
We'll figure it out.
And instead of Injustice 3, it's just the 90s cartoon.
The animated 90s.
But I want it to be as violent as Injustice and Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Like, those Street Sharks, they don't give a fuck.
No, man. Those Mighty Ducks are fucking aliens with hockey sticks, okay?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
No, that's a great idea.
No, shit. My head's spinning right now.
Hey, man, NetherRealm is kind of local to us. They should give us a call.
My friend used to work there. It's one of the places he used to work. Yep.
Some of those licenses wouldn't be too expensive, like Street Sharks.
They're not using gargoyles. Have a hard time. Okay, they're not
using gargoyles right now, so I feel like they could get that one a little bit cheaper. And Disney, if anything, Disney would probably be happy.
Yep. Have somebody else do the work, and they get the money. They'd love it.
Exactly. But yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer to see like NetherRealm of all places like not doing as well. But I think they'll bounce back with either I would assume it's Injustice.
They'll switch off of Mortal Kombat for now.
Yeah. So because they're not going to just jump into the next Mortal Kombat.
No, not now.
So. This rumor. So this I put in here, and this was a rumor that happened right before the Game Awards, and I'll say it's kind of surprising. That at the Game Awards we didn't, because I thought for sure we did get our Microsoft announcement, which is Outer Worlds 2 is in 2025. And that's great. I look forward to that. But I thought we would get at least one of those either shadow drops or like, hey, here's the next big Xbox title coming to PlayStation.
Or here's the next 4 games. And then 4 games that we're going to spread out over time.
I don't even think Phil Spencer was there this year.
Didn't seem like
they didn't even show him.
No.
But the big next rumored title is Forza Horizon 5. And it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
I think it would sell. It would sell amazing. It would be the number one.
It would sell immediately. It's not a direct competition to Gran Turismo because it's a different kind of racing game.
But you will also grab the hard Sony fans who maybe have not ever had an Xbox and have heard about Forza for years. Yep. And I mean, every Horizon game only gets better.
It's an easy $70 sale.
Yeah, and again, Horizon is so different than any other of the racing games that are already on PlayStation. So,
but I really
it's not going to affect anything.
I felt like we would get that. I felt like we would get that, and then it's like not only that, but then here's, pick through 3 other games that they had. Like there's something, but
yeah, it's weird. Ubisoft, which as a company continues to circle the train,
man,
they're going to get bought. I think they're going to get bought out by Tencent.
When Assassin's Creed Shadows fails, it's over.
I agree. Like, I think it will come. I think it will do better than people predict.
Yeah,
but it's going to fail.
Yes,
commercially, it will be a failure.
Mm-hmm.
But Ubisoft is discontinuing X Defiant in 2025. The San Francisco and Osaka studios are shutting down amid major layoffs. Some more layoffs at Ubisoft. Again, none of this surprises me. They've had and we've had obviously a lot of studios have had a really bad 2024. There's been an insane amount of layoffs, but I would argue no studio has had it worse than Ubisoft. I mean, it started the year with, and I haven't played it yet. You haven't played it yet. We both have it. That Prince of Persia game, which from everything I've heard is a really good game.
Yeah.
But nobody bought it when it came out, which is why, what did I get it for 15, I think? So, and I've heard it's really good. It's just nobody bought it, but that's kind of started their bad year. And then between their controversies with Assassin's Creed that got so extreme, they had to push the game till February. And then everything else, X Defiant has been a massive failure for them. I'm not surprised. And like I said, I do think I'm not going to say it will be Tencent, but I do think by the end of 2025, what you know as Ubisoft now will not be the same.
No,
somebody will own them.
Yeah.
So, on the back of that, another studio has gotten into the culture wars, and maybe I'm not going to say it's torpedoed the launch of this game yet because we still got a couple months, but boy, I will say that the person involved is not doing a good job of cleaning it up. So the latest game in the culture wars that has taken a hit is Avowed, which I can give you my solution to how to fix this problem really simple, which is basically what happened is there could be some woke things that are in the game that have been pointed out. And that's spread all over the internet. The art director of the game it seems like he's kind of an unhinged person. Went on some tirades on Twitter and now Blue Sky, because that's where a lot of people are going to Blue Sky. The Twitter alternative. And has kind of doubled down. A lot of his stuff is like attacking different gamers and stuff, all for a game that's not even out yet. And so a lot of people have already written this game off. And I'll tell you, here's my easy solution to fix the Avowed controversy. Number one, the game needs to be delayed again. It should not come out in February.
Oh, man.
There's too many good games. And now it is in direct competition with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which brings up the other problem this game has, which is, I don't know if you saw this, I didn't put it in the news, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 announced the other day their different performance modes for their game, and that they're not doing anything special for the PS5 Pro because they don't feel that the PS5 Pro offers that much more. So the shocking thing about this game is that it will run on 60 frames on everything except for the Series S, but that's the redheaded stepchild of this generation. But they're not doing anything special for the PS5 Pro. It's going to still run the same resolutions and have a 60 frames option. And that's the other thing. So I think my argument for Avowed is you delay it till May and you put a 60 frames mode in the game. And you quiet down this art director guy and maybe get him off social media. I'm not saying you have to fire the person, but I think you need to quiet the person and like, hey, maybe don't have these tirades right now when we're getting ready to launch a major game that for a company that
needs
another hit.
Yeah.
Because I'll say this, like, Microsoft didn't have a great 2024, but they ended their year very strong by putting out Indiana Jones and it being an actual really good
game. A good game, yeah.
The unfortunate thing about it is the people that took notice for that said, cool, I'll just play it on PS5 in a couple months. And that was the thing that hurt that game, is they should have never announced that game for PS5 before it came out.
Until it was out, yeah.
Yeah, so, which I hope that, like, for Avowed's sake, don't do that. Like, we know it'll come to PS5, but don't do that before. So, that is my solution to fix that game, though. I don't think it should come out in February. I think it should be delayed again to get away from the controversy and put a 60 frames mode. It's possible. Even Final Fantasy, like, you and I, like, Final Fantasy Rebirth. Yeah, it runs at 60. It looks sludgy at times, but you know what? People liked that it was in the game.
Yes.
And I think that's an important thing that should be in there. I think that's where we are. And speaking of the PS5 Pro, which, like I said, I don't personally own one. We know somebody that, you and I have a friend that does own one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any plans to get one, at least right now. It's had some really rough patches, and I saw this with another game today. I'm trying to remember what it is, but the Avatar game that came out last year based on the movie had a PS5 Pro patch that apparently is so rough they now put out a patch that allows you to disable it.
That's good.
Will they work on it? I saw another, I can't remember the game, but I saw another one that did the same thing today for the PS5 Pro. I forgot to put it in here, but it's like, it just, once again, it's like, I don't think, and it all has to do with that PSSR technology. And I think the developers weren't ready for that technology, and they're still learning how to use it because it is a relatively new thing. Obviously you haven't started it yet. Suicide Squad. We I thought we'd hit at least the year mark before this happened. But the Suicide Squad support is now ended. It's going to have is this the end, or I think they're doing one final season that has Deathstroke.
Yeah, that's the end.
They have patched in an offline mode, which was promised when the game launched. It has hit an all-time low on all digital storefronts of $2.99 for the base game.
Right.
I think you pay a little bit more to get the deluxe. What a disaster.
Unbelievable.
And I saw today
disaster.
Warner Brothers, I didn't put it in here because it was a late thing, but Warner Brothers did lay off people at Rocksteady today. That was the most recent thing I saw. What a shocker.
Yeah.
I'm going to update this one because this number actually changed since I put this article in here.
Okay.
Because it was announced at the Game Awards last night.
Oh, yeah.
Infinity Nikki has launched now with 20 million players.
Hey, man. We just like to hang out. Okay. Explore. Again, collect.
As much as I see some disdain to it, I do think there is a point where free-to-play is part of the future.
It is.
If done correctly.
It's its own complete separate genre of game. And if you don't like to play those games, fantastic. They're free. You don't have to look at them twice. But if you're someone who enjoys, like, I've played Genshin, I've played Honkai, I've played Zenless, I've played this, that Crimson Desert game. We didn't even talk about that. I'll play that.
Late 2025.
Whatever, but I'll play it.
Another year. You and I will play that. I actually think that's awesome.
There is a market for this stuff because these overseas, like these companies in like China and Japan are just nailing this shit, man. And it's crazy that they can keep coming out with this stuff and content for it constantly, reworking the game and all this stuff when it's, quote unquote free. Man, it is. That is part of the future of video games.
And if you want to look at it on, our side of things, or in the American side of things, you look at something like Fortnite, which, like, I'm not a Fortnite player. I played Fortnite, I think, when it launched. But look at how much that's changed.
Yeah.
Constantly updated.
But that's what a live service game is. That's what a free-to-play game is. It's when you start to try to charge for those things up front to get people to buy in to play your game that you have problems. Look at Marvel Rivals. That's free. It's destroying Overwatch 2 right now.
I don't even think you played Marvel Rivals.
I did. I didn't talk about it before. I played a couple matches of it. It is OG Overwatch with Marvel characters in it. It's stupid and it's fun. It is exactly what you think it is and what it is sold to you that it is going to be. And it's going to make money for years. The only thing I'll say about that game is I told you about it too. There's too many characters in it right now. You needed to hold some of those back so that you can release those over time.
It is a little weird that they launched with that many characters.
It's a lot of characters unlocked from the start, where you could have done 10 less and been like, hey, the first season is you get 2 a month. You know, that would have worked out.
No,
better,
I agree with you.
I'm sure they have a plan.
Agreed. And then I put this in here because I thought this was stupid. This is our last news article. IGN once again. I don't know if you saw this, but we laugh about all the time. IGN specifically, and the whole 7 out of 10 thing constantly. The head guy once again put out another article talking about awards and reviews and why they don't always sync up, and just once again digging that 7 out of 10 hole that they've been in for the last couple of years.
It's crazy how he keeps trying to pretend like it's not a thing, but you see it. People say it about it all the time on Reddit, on Facebook. Like, it's obviously such a common enough thing that everyone has picked up on it. That it's, yes, you start at a 7 and you go from there. That's why it's rare to see anything that gets below a 5, because a 5 isn't a 5 on that scale. 5 is a 7 on that scale. And anything above a 9, like Indiana Jones, might as well just be a 10, because if 7 is the starting point, we've talked about it to death, but like, their scale has no meaning.
It has no meaning. I will say I'm surprised the comments are still turned on for this article.
That's crazy. They should have been turned off immediately.
Yeah, I am amazed they're still on. I just looked, but it's just dumb. They further keep digging themselves in that stupid hole. So, before we move on, I put this in the category of GameStop dumbass move of the week. I have a GameStop story.
Since
the last time we recorded that we can talk about. So I actually went out over the Black Friday, over Thanksgiving, the holiday. Actually, Black Friday for us, even though it's not the day of anymore, it's like the week before. Everybody just decides to put everything on sale a week early. And Black Friday has now become like a week-long thing. So the weekend before Thanksgiving, this would have been, I think it was a Saturday. It could have been a Sunday. I don't remember. Saturday or Sunday, that weekend before, I went out and I decided I wanted to get a new Xbox controller and I wanted to get a new PlayStation controller just because it's time. And my controllers are not, the ones that I was going to get rid of, they're not like overly used or anything. They're mildly used, but in the PlayStation case of things, like the battery is not great.
Right.
So it's been used a lot. Like the Xbox controller, I mean, I'll be honest, I just wanted this new color because I'm weird about this. Like I wanted that new blue, like see-through color that came out. I forget what it's called. But what I did is I ended up buying, because I could not find it in any local stores, I bought the purple Chroma DualSense controller, and then my local GameStop, which is like 5 minutes from here, I looked it up. They had in stock the blue see-through Xbox controller I wanted. So what my plan was, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna trade in my purple DualSense that, you know, battery life's not the greatest on, and this I think it was my green controller, or no, it wasn't the green, it was a yellow. So I had a yellow and I had a green for Xbox. So I took them. And like I said, they're used, but they're not like, they're what you would consider perfectly fine to accept. And I went in, and I've had problems at my local GameStop a couple times since I've moved here. But this is the time where it kind of set me to like, I'm done coming here. So I went in, I brought my stuff. There was nobody. Okay. You're right. Okay. So I brought my stuff in. I had everything with me, and I waited for a couple minutes as I got in, and there wasn't like a real line. There wasn't a lot of people in the store, which is the fun part about that, and that part of it will make sense as I continue with the story. So there's not a lot of people in the store. As I get up to the counter, and the funny thing, and I'll also point this out, when I walked into the store, I was not greeted. When I walked in the store, which, you know, for Dan and I, when we worked there, for you and I, it was always the first thing. Like when you heard the door chime, you need to greet that fucking person. Okay? I didn't get greeted at all. I just walk in. whatever. I walk around for probably 2 to 3 minutes until finally this guy who was putting shit on the shelves is like, oh, can I help you with anything? And I told him, like, I got a couple controllers I want to trade in, and I want to pick up this blue controller. And the guy's like, sure, okay. And so I go up there, I give him the controllers, and the guy's like, all right, let me look at the controllers. There was somebody behind me, so he's like, let me help this person, then I'll take a look at these controllers. I'm like, all right. So I walk around for a little bit. He helps the other customer, and then I walk up. He goes, all right, I'll look at these controllers. He takes 2 seconds to look at my yellow controller, and immediately is just like, well, I need to take this one defective. And I looked at the guy. I'm like, really?
He didn't even hook it up to like that machine thing at all?
No, he has. Keep in mind, he has not hooked it up to the machine yet. He's like, no, this controller, is used and it's kind of dirty. I'm like, no, it's not, man. Like, it's pristine. Trust me. And he's like, no, I got to take it defective. And keep in mind, he has not hooked it up yet. He's not looked at the PlayStation controller yet. So it's just this one. And so I kind of squabble with him for a little bit, but I'm like, whatever. And I don't want to pull the I used to work here card yet. And I don't. At this point, I have not. Because I hate to pull it.
I don't enjoy it, but sometimes it needs to be done.
And so I'm like, whatever. I'm not happy, but I'm like, whatever. Just look at the controller. Let's see what he's going to do. So he hooks up the controllers. He messes around with them for a little bit. And then it gets to the point where he's going to add them to the system. And I know what the whole point of this is. I know what the values of the controllers are because I looked them up ahead of time on the website before I went there, or I wouldn't have gotten there.
Right.
So he comes up, he puts them in, and it comes up to some ludicrously low value, like not at all what I'm supposed to get. And I want to say when I calculated it up, it was I out of pocket, I'd be paying about $8 for the controller I want to get. What he was giving me was like 23, I think, total, or something really low. And so I looked at it, and I looked at obviously he put a refurb fee on the one controller. I'm not happy about that, but whatever. I look at the other controller, it's really low, the DualSense. I know what the cost of it is because I have it on my phone. And so I tell him, like, well, I don't think that one's right. It's supposed to be more. No, that's what the system has. And I'm like, I tell the guy, I'm like, all right, well, I went on the website this morning. I looked up the values. That's why I'm here. Or our website's third party. I'm like, no, it's not third party. And that's when I had to lift the shroud and tell the guy, like, look, man, I'm going to level with you. I worked here for 5 years. I know how the system works. The website's not third party. And I know what the value is. It literally says on the website, you have to follow the value of the day.
The important thing is, on the website, if you look up a trade value, it will give you a trade value for something. It will say it is valid this day, through this day only. So for something, and he refused to look at my phone. That's crazy.
I told him, I'm like, I can literally show you on the website right now. I have it pulled up, and it says at the bottom, show this.
It does.
It says show to the employee to confirm if the date matches, which it did. Refuses to look at, won't do anything about it. And I kind of just stood there, and I'm like, so what can we do about this? Like, how can we get past this? There's nothing we can do. I'm like, and I know it was a Sunday, because I'm like, I know it's Sunday. I was like, is there a manager I can talk to? Like, is there a store manager you can call? Because I know this guy's not the store manager. No, I'm the manager today. I can't do anything. And I told him, like, well, I hate to pull this card, but I'm like, do we need to get the district manager involved? Because
he's going for it.
There's no reason that this is this low.
You're going for it.
And no, he won't be able to do anything for you. And I can't make that call right now. There's too many guests in the store. And I look around, I'm like, it's me and like a dude with his son. That's it. A store full of guests. And I told the guy, I'm like, homie, I used to make calls with multiple people in the store because the person you're dealing with at the time and place is who you have to deal with.
Yeah, you'd have to sometimes.
Like you can't just go, oh, I can't make that phone call. And like, I would have even told the guy, like, if the guy was behind me waiting to order, I'm like, you can ring this dude out and then call. I don't care. Like, I'm not going anywhere. He would not work with me. He would not do anything. So I finally was like, I didn't yell, I didn't curse or anything at the guy, but I finally just said, I'm like, all right, man, I'm not going to get anywhere today. I think I'm done. I have an older reserve. I'm just going to cancel that. I'll take the $5 back. And I'm done. I'm not going to come back to this store. And so then, of course, he goes, cancel the reserve. Well, I got to give it back to you in trade card. I don't care, man. So I told the guy, I don't care.
Right.
We're done here. So I think that's when I called you and told you the story. And I told you, I was like, I'm going to drive over to the next store in the next town. I'm going to say nothing about my experience unless I have to. I'm just going to see what happens. And so I went to the next nearest store. Thankfully, I did not have to go in the mall. Because if I had to go in the mall, the story would end. I'm not going to the mall. But I went to the store that's outside of the mall over here by me. And I walked in. I said nothing about my interaction. And I just told the guy, I'm like, here's what I'm here to do. Here's the 2 controllers, whatever. The guy's like, yeah, sure. Pulls them out, looks them up, whatever, pulls them up in the system, hooks them up to the thing. Doesn't say a single thing to me about condition. Doesn't add any refurb fee. Gives me the full value for both controllers, which are correct values for that day. And I am walking away paying the $8 I expected to pay for that controller. And I was so happy. That's where I bought my Warhammer copy. Because I was like, do you have Warhammer that's sealed? Because I don't want to buy a gutted game if I don't have to. Yeah, I got a sealed one. Sure. You made another sale, buddy. So and that guy was cool. And I didn't mention my experience at the other store. I didn't say anything. I came home. I told you, I was like, I'm gonna try and do a survey, not realizing they don't have the survey system anymore.
Not the same, yeah.
But here's the funny thing. I don't know if I sent it to you. But so I sent a long, lengthy email. I'm just like, I just want to see if they'll do anything. If it's gonna fall on deaf ears, I know that. I did actually get a generated automatic response like maybe a week ago. And here it is. I got the response on December 6th.
Okay.
I'm going to read it to you. You're going to laugh. Hi there, Kyle. We know it's taken longer than usual to respond, and for that, we are truly sorry. The customer service team here at GameStop is working diligently to improve our current processes so your experience will only get better in the future. Because we want to make sure that we are working towards resolving all active inquiries. If your issue has already been resolved, there's no action needed. If your issue is still pending from your initial email to us, we kindly ask you to respond to this message. By doing so, you'll be expediting a response to you. So basically, they haven't looked at it yet.
No, they never will.
I responded to it and was like, yeah, nobody's looked at it. I haven't gotten a response.
They never will.
They won't.
You got an automated response.
Yeah,
it's a Chat GPT response.
But that's my point. Like, I'm not completely done like going to GameStop, right? I will not go to the local one anymore because that is the third time I've had a shitty situation.
Yeah, you gotta stop.
Where it's just like you're making up your own rules and like. It's clear it's clear you don't like your job. I get it. I worked at GameStop. There were days I didn't like working there, but like you can't just make up your own rules about the website or make up stories of like, oh, it's not a third party site, dude. It's all corporately owned. Like, so that's my rant about GameStop. I ended up still getting those 2 controllers. So they're great. It's nice to have new controllers. Anyways, we can dive in really quick to movies. I have 2 that I've watched in a couple weeks. I mean, there's other stuff I kind of dabbled in, and I've been rewatching Coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We talk about it all the time. Yeah.
Talk about it all the time. But the 2 big movies I've watched since the last time we recorded, I did not talk about Smile 2 the last time, right? I think I watched it right after we recorded.
Don't remember.
I don't think we talked about Smile 2. Maybe we did.
I don't know.
I don't remember. I will just briefly say I really enjoyed Smile 2. It's one of my favorite horror movies of the year. I feel like we maybe did talk about it because I know Matt saw it.
I think we might have, yeah. Because I think
I will say, yeah. The big movie that I saw, I will say also, we were supposed to go see Moana. I got tickets for it. I was ambitious thinking that, hey, we're going to go see that movie at 10 a.m. on Black Friday, the day after my girlfriend spent all night cooking Thanksgiving dinner. I refunded those. We didn't go. And then the reviews were kind of iffy. I was like, I'll just wait till it's on digital. So I will, the next time we record, and it'll be in January, I will be able to talk about Nosferatu 2. But the big movie that I did see, that I did watch, that I was excited to see, it finally hit digital this past week,
is Heretic.
Don't
spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
Heretic, which I will tell you, like, the thing I will say is, like, there are scenes of violence, but I don't think it's anything you can't handle.
Well, hey, man, I just watched another movie, and there was some violence in that. So I think it depends on the violence for me, really. But
it's not anything. The one scene that I'm thinking of that you might be a little squeamish at, you can look away for a second. Right. So I don't want to say what it is because it does spoil something. Okay. But I didn't think overall I was like, this isn't that big of a deal. Heretic is one of my favorite movies of the year, and it mostly that hinges on the performance of Hugh Grant. And that's the draw and the allure of this movie is Hugh Grant. because he was the 90s and early 2000s rom-com guy. Here he is in a fucking horror movie, playing an incredibly charming but also really creepy dude. And his ability to go in a conversation from being really charming to then churn the conversation into something really creepy is really good in this. Like, the way he does it is really good, because they will get into and the whole thing is the whole movie is a play on religion. Specifically the two girls. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you know what the setup for the movie is. It's two Mormon girls that are going around. He says he's interested in the Mormon religion. He lets them know, like, you know, they come in the house, he's making blueberry pie or whatever. He keeps saying his wife's in the other room. They start having this I'd say it gets kind of deep conversation about Mormonism. It turns into something, I wouldn't say a little more sinister, but it starts to turn into more of a broad conversation about religion. But it's the way during his conversation about it where he's able to change it from being someone who's kind of a charming old guy that's like interested in the religion to all of a sudden he'll be like, well, I'm going to ask you a question really quickly and it might make you uncomfortable. And they're like, okay. And then he'll ask them something like so deep it just cuts through what they believe. And it's like, oh, this is getting kind of interesting. And then it gets to where you think it is, where they get to the sinister part of that movie where they are trapped in the house and it turns into something completely different. Okay. I will say, and you might get to the same point that I did. I did guess what he was getting at, where he alludes in the entire thing like, look, I've spent years studying different religions and I've determined there is one true religion. I will say it's kind of easy to figure out what he believes is the one true religion at the end of the movie. But I still think it's a really cool reveal, and what he's doing to kind of prove the point is interesting. He's a very sinister guy. The other thing that shocked me in this movie, it's a brief role, but the like head pastor of this Mormon church that's like in charge of the two girls that are going around is just fucking Topher Grace.
Oh, sure. Why not?
He has two scenes where he shows up at the house and he's like, hey, I have these two girls that, you know, were out. Have you seen them? And, you know, Hugh Grant's like, no, they haven't been here. Whatever, you know, kind of a thing. But like, it was one of those where he had to squint because he looks different. Okay. Looks a little older. And I'm like, is that Topher Grace?
Well,
I had to look it up. Like, yeah,
he's got a movie coming out. Him on the plane with Marky Mark.
It's an excellent movie. It's it's 100% psychological. There is a horror element to it. There is one part of it, I will say, that you think it's going to go in a certain direction where you're like, and when that started, I think that's when I text you like, maybe you might be out on this movie, but it does subvert that in a way that's interesting. So like I said, there's one there's a couple scenes that are gory, but there's one specifically that I could see some people being a little squeamish at if you're not suspecting it. But I would also argue, for me, it was on the level of like a CSI or a Criminal Minds. So I think you'd be.
I've watched all of those. So yeah.
I would say if it was any other actor playing that role, I don't think I would be as high on the movie. I think it is because it is Hugh Grant and he is playing so against type for him as an actor is what makes the movie what it is. So it's also a movie that I like. I mean, sure, it's a horror movie. They can make a sequel out of anything, but they ain't making a sequel out of this one. Yeah. At least not a direct one. So, and I kind of hope it stays a one-off thing. Like, I don't want a Heretic too. Right. So I loved it. I gave it a 9 out of 10, and it's easily in my top 5 of the year. I think it's a tremendous horror movie and absolutely worth the wait.
All right. Yeah, I'll watch it at some point before we record next.
But you have the hottest new release to talk about.
I'll do that last. Because I did watch. I had you get. I was in a mood for some classics. You know, of when I was growing up. A combination of Sex Drive and Euro Trip, just because I wanted to revisit them and see, like, do these hold up? Are they like so far out there that it's like, man, you could not make the stuff again. They ride a line for sure. Sex Drive is a little more.
I rewatched that maybe a year ago, around this time a year ago, and I will say, putting the unrated version aside, because it's meant to be a joke. Yeah. If you cut that aspect of it out, because it is a true unrated version of the movie, they couldn't have shown that in theaters.
Nuts. Yeah.
it does ride a line, but I think it rides the same line like a Superbad does.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I will argue that I don't think it holds up especially well, just because the main
it's a different era.
Well, there's that, but like it's easy to compare and contrast the two because I watched them like a week apart. Euro Trip is a far better movie because it's more about just like it being fun and like the crazy shit they get into. Sex Drive takes it in a different direction where like the main character of Sex Drive is not likable. Like he's just like this whiny like
the doofy main character. Okay.
Like the main character, like the whole point of
his homie is not a likable character.
No, either. They're not either, but at least he's the comic relief and that's the point. The main character is probably somebody I should be rooting for, but it's like, man, he gets in his own way and I just don't like him at all.
What I remembered about that movie, and then I rewatched it like a year ago, but I had not seen it since it came out. But what I remembered about that movie is at the time that me and my buddy had watched it, I just remember the entire time watching it, like his buddy is like the guy in that movie that's like getting all these chicks, and I'm just like, this is not realistic.
No, it's not.
This is not the kind of person that would work for.
But then it's funny because if you should go watch Euro Trip again too, because I actually think I
haven't seen that since it came out either.
That's a far better movie, and I thought to myself, because I watched it second, that it was like, oh, he's going to be another like loser character. Because I know, like, his girlfriend dumps him because she's been sleeping with Matt.
All
Damon
I remember is
singer and all
Scotty doesn't know or whatever.
So I thought, like, oh yeah, I forgot he's a loser and all this kind of stuff. But he's actually not. Like he's just like a normal dude, and it actually helps the movie quite a bit because you don't have to be like, oh, he's constantly fucking up and getting these situations. It's like, no, all four of them are getting in fucked up situations and getting out of it together. Like, I just think it's a more fun movie to get through. Like,
I'll say, like, there's a good nostalgia to that, like, mid 2000s R-rated.
Yeah,
comedy.
Like I just got that in my head.
We don't get.
No,
today.
They don't exist anymore.
And then every once in a while, you'll get one that kind of tries to get there. Like the one I think of that's recent was the Jennifer Lawrence one.
Oh yeah.
Which it was okay, but it kind of got to that point, but not really. And then there's the questionable part of like the age difference.
But
and
yeah,
if you swap genders, it would be
there's
not
just
okay.
Like that was a genre of movie. Like Superbad was probably the tail end of that kind of stuff.
Remember how much money those
they were
movies
making
made?
tons of money.
Insane. Knocked up.
Yeah, all that stuff. Role Models. I love Role Models still. I should actually watch that again because that makes
a good one you'll remember from the past. I remember today because I was thinking about Owen Wilson, Drill Bit Taylor.
Yeah,
remember that one?
That was like a whole
saw that in the thing
of movies. But
it was.
So I watched those, and you should go watch Euro Trip again because
I will this next week.
But I watched the hit film of 2024, the one everybody's been waiting for.
You've circled out the universe,
the Sony Cinematic Universe, I guess is what they call it.
They're referring to it as the Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's all right. I have ended the circle. I have watched KRAVEN the Hunter.
God.
Reviews for this movie are terrible.
How many people were in the theater?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, probably like 14, and we went to an 8:00 show. Reviews for it are terrible. It's trending to make less than Madam Web somehow, which
is crazy.
I don't know if that's possible.
It's crazy.
Having seen it, and I'll preface this by saying that KRAVEN is probably my second favorite Spider-Man villain. I love KRAVEN, and I love Chameleon too, and he's in it a lot. And they don't try to hide that. I thought the trailers did a thing where like it looked like maybe they weren't going to reference that or like make that part of the movie. They do, and they kind of tack it on at the end. Full KRAVEN spoilers to follow, by the way, just in case anybody's worried.
I don't think it could be all right.
I will say, having watched it, this movie's also 2 hours and 7 minutes long. It's not bad. Like, I don't.
Okay.
The problem the movie has is the same problem all these other movies have, where there's no Spider-Man, and we're trying to build it up like he's a hero, and he's the good guy, and we should be on his side. I know I'm not supposed to be, so why do I care? It's at least a watchable movie. Okay. Something like Venom 3, I told you, Venom 3 is straight trash because that movie doesn't give a shit about anything, including itself. Yeah. The whole movie is a joke. It's all dark. You can't see the fight scenes are nothing. It's PG-13. Like KRAVEN is hard R, and I had forgotten that going into it until people are getting fucking brutally murdered. And like some of the fight scenes aren't the greatest thing in the world, but at one part hits a dude in the face with a bear trap, and you see it shut on the dude's head. And then later you see that dude laying on the ground with a bear trap in his face. And I was like, holy shit. That kind of stuff is good. There's a part where some of the CG is bad. Let's just be fair. But CG in a lot of movies is bad.
Right. Universe.
One guy gets like dragged away by some kind of animal. I forget.
Okay.
And fucking cut in half. And he like explodes as he gets cut in half.
Awesome.
It is crazy violent.
Those are usually my favorite because they're over the top.
It's crazy violent during the parts where like he's killing people. So like I actually kind of thought those were fun.
Okay.
It is a better movie than every other movie in this universe except maybe Venom 1, which was fine. You know what I mean? Like Venom 1 was fine. Venom Web.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with they let it be R?
Yes, I think that helps. If you're gonna make a movie universe about villains and not even have the Spider-Man and have the hero be in it, make them all R. Make the whole thing fucking crazy. Who cares? Like this movie, like a dude gets shot in the eye with a crossbow bolt. Like the Rhino, like there's this how he kills the Rhino. He kills the Rhino, and the Rhino is just like a dude who has a skin condition who basically turns into a Rhino.
Yeah, that's my question. Like, how do they handle the Rhino?
There's a throwaway to another Spider-Man villain reference where he talks about how he went to go see a doctor in New York named Miles Warren. Miles Warren is a Spider-Man villain named the Jackal who, long story incredibly short, is the guy who is responsible for all the clone shit in the Spider-Man universe.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one who made all the different Spider-Man clones and all this other shit. So they kind of throw that in there where it's like, if you're a Spider-Man person, okay, I get it, fine, it works. And the way he has to kill Rhino is the way the guy keeps from turning into Rhino throughout the whole movie is he's wearing this like backpack with like a tube in his side, right? And if he wants to turn into Rhino, he unhooks the tube. So at the final fight where they're like in this grassland thing, he rips the thing off and it's like it's fucking go time kind of a thing.
Okay.
KRAVEN at one point, he can't beat him. He takes a pipe off of this truck that got knocked over and fucking just jams it in the hole and starts wriggling it around. It's fucking gross. Wow. But it's cool. Like I didn't have a problem with most of it. You know what I did have a problem with in the entire movie? The dialogue is terrible.
Okay.
The pacing,
I've heard
the pacing is insane. He is in Far Eastern Russia, and then in the next shot he's in London, and the next shot he's in Turkey, and then he's in Germany, then he's in Turkey.
So does it suffer from the same does it also suffer from the same ADR problem that it has
It has some of it because like there'll be a scene where they're talking at the back end of a cargo plane that's on. You cannot hear them, so you have to dub it over. There's just little mistakes here and there about how like continuity mistakes. Turkey is not called Turkey anymore, but they keep putting that on the screen. That country changed its name years ago, like 2 years ago. So maybe this, and I think another part of the problem with this movie is like the delays and it took forever to get it going, and they had reshoots. And I think this is while not a good movie, it is a better movie than Madam Web by far, Morbius by far, Venom 2 by far, Venom 3 by far. It's still not good. They do make good on the chameleon thing at the very end where he finally he goes to see Miles Warren as well and he can change his face and stuff, which was cool. So that in theory, I think they were setting it up for the next one would have been like Chameleon could have been a villain for KRAVEN. Or they really set it up at the end where like KRAVEN's gonna go on the next hunt, which would be like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it really kind of fucking sucks that they can't do this. It's just this whole thing just proved to be a colossal waste of everyone's time. And it's confusing with like Venom coming to the MCU and then immediately getting kicked back out. Vulture shows up at one point in a Morbius movie. Like they just had no clue. And for them for this movie to come out, get terrible reviews, and before I could even see it, for them to say this is the last one. Well, damn, dude. Like
I would have waited at least until the weekend is over to announce that. because I mean, even though the movie is projecting to be the worst performing one, you still think you want to get as much money as you can.
Yeah. And again,
before you make that kind
I
of
think reviews are overly harsh, and I think maybe just because of all of these movies, Venom can at least stand alone, right? Venom has his own thing and can do it. KRAVEN needs Spider-Man to exist. And this movie kind of proves that.
There. Yeah, and I agree with that, because like, even as someone who also likes KRAVEN the Hunter, it just there is a group of people that would be interested in that, but it is diminished.
If you played the game, you get an idea of what he's like. And
I also think if this movie would have came out closer to when the game came out, when it originally was supposed to, it might have
also it does that movie trope that I really fucking hate, where like it opens with him in an action sequence where he kills a guy in a prison, and then it goes 16 years earlier, and then it's a 35-minute flashback sequence.
Oh God!
So it's not only that, but now it's out of order, and you're just supposed to be like, "Oh, okay with it," kind of a thing.
Oh, remember when I was in prison 35 minutes ago?
Yeah, it's bizarre. But the backstory stuff is important, because a lot of the movie is a dynamic between him and his brother and his dad.
Isn't his dad Russell Crowe?
Yeah, and he's bad. He's bad in the movie. But think about this: Russell Crowe has now been KRAVEN's dad, Superman's dad, and Zeus in the Thor movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Shit, man, he just does it all.
He does it all.
It's not a good movie, right? It's not, but it's not the pile of shit that some of these other ones.
Does it hit digital before Christmas?
Yes.
Okay, I agree. I think you can
already pre-order the Steelbook.
I think it hits Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
That's my.
But I will say, like, if it's ever on something, you can stream it for free, and you want to see some dudes get fucking murdered, it's pretty good. That bear trap thing is crazy. Because the thing about the bear trap scene, this will be the last thing I say. So, like, they're out to hunt it. They're trying to hunt the hunter, right? So they put these bear traps out, and he finds one. And he's like, "Oh, okay." You just kind of see him like uncover it in the leaves. You don't see what he's gonna do with it. The next scene, this guy's like walking in front of the frame, and the bear trap just goes wham! It hits him and like just directly into the shot. And you're like, shit, dude. Okay. And like he's doing that thing where like he kicks people in the knee and breaking their knees and stuff. It's pretty wild.
I always see the same reaction whenever it's like a shock gore thing where it's something that explodes. I always laugh out loud.
I did too, because
the one that I always go back to is the 2018 Halloween reboot, because like that movie's not very violent considering what it is, but there is one scene where out of nowhere he just fucking smashes this dude's face in with his boot.
Yeah.
And this dude's head just comically explodes.
That's what happens.
And I laughed so hard out loud in the theater.
Like it's violent.
It's so absurd.
It's violent before this scene, but this scene is like, what if we just went up like 4 notches? And it's like bear trap to the face, crossbow through the eye. This guy, I swear to you, gets like drawn and quartered in half. It's nuts, and he explodes. Yeah, KRAVEN, it's a fitting end to a really shitty experiment of a movie.
Kind of makes sense though.
Yeah, it does. It's a bummer for me, because KRAVEN was supposed to be the No Way Home villain, but then they said you can't do that because we're making this,
which is dumb.
Yeah.
Do you think now that this universe is over, that opens the door for them to use any of these villains?
I'm praying that that's what this means. Because if that's what this means, then we get KRAVEN and Chameleon. We get
we don't even know who the villain is of this new Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, which is supposedly filming next year.
It's supposed to start in the summer. I really want them to use Scorpion, because like we've already established he exists.
Well, it's like, okay, on the flip side of this is, as the Batman guy, like today, I just saw we're getting a standalone Clayface movie now. And I don't understand what that's for.
They're being coy. Cinematic universe.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, is it part of James Gunn DCU? Is it going to be connected to the Matt Reeves thing, which doesn't make sense because that's a really grounded thing. Right. So a character like Clayface, I don't think fits in there.
No.
Is it its own thing? But then if it's its own thing, then I question, like, are we going to do this?
Then we're doing
failed Spider-Man thing that just failed. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me why we're doing that. Like, whereas like there's one, like I had the argument before the Penguin show of like, I don't know if this, needs to make sense. And then that came out and made perfect sense.
But it's grounded.
But it is tied to something.
Right.
So, even though he is. I don't think Batman is ever mentioned by name in the Penguin through its entirety. They do show the bat symbol or the
signal
at one point. The signal they show it once, and then there is another, not Batman, but there's another character that is mentioned out loud.
Okay.
In that show, but Batman himself is never mentioned. There's not even like, I would have even taken in that show like a paper like Bruce Wayne or something. Like there is nothing. It is as if he is dead. And like I said, there is one part in that show where there is a pretty big explosion that happens that levels an entire city block, kind of thing where it's like, when it happened, I looked at my girlfriend like, I think Batman would probably have heard that and wanted to see what the fuck's going on.
That's the argument you always get in the Marvel movies. It's like, well, the Avengers couldn't show up for this time.
It's like, it's weird. So I don't know, but I don't know. We'll see what they're doing in the Clayface, but that's my hope. Is we are now at the end of the Spider-Man thing, the experiment that failed. I really hope DC's not going to try and do their version.
And I hope that this just means that Sony lets all that go, and we can use these people in other things, and like we could do a real Venom storyline. Well, because
they did what they did to hold the licenses, and now we've proven that failed.
Well, my hope would be that we've let this go because Secret Wars is coming. And that's where Spider-Man gets the symbiote in the comics. That would be a good way to do it.
Who do you think they do then for this Tom Holland movie? Because this will be before
I
Secret
want
Wars,
Scorpion.
Right? Okay. And they teased him.
Scorpion exists in the universe.
Yeah, he exists in the
universe. You
have
seen him.
Yeah. He's our buddy from Far Cry.
Yeah, he's right there.
And that's fine.
My hope would be him. My hope would be other like those level type things. The problem is I wouldn't say we've wasted Doc Ock and Green Goblin and stuff, but we kind of have because we got other universe versions of them. I don't want to retread it.
You can't directly go into Spider-Man 4 and be like, okay, here's our version.
There is a way we could do Hobgoblin because Green Goblin's established, and maybe whoever becomes Hobgoblin, they want it to be Ned. I think that's a bad choice. But finds a Green Goblin stash or whatever, and he becomes Hobgoblin. Fine, Hobgoblin's fucking crazier. So let's do that. Like, we got plenty. Call me. I got plenty of ideas. We'll be fine.
Well, as we've said many times, Black Cat has not been done.
My hope would be one was like him and Tony Stark, right? 2 was him and Nick Fury, and then 3 was him and Doctor Strange. So what if we let this go a little bit, and we go Spider-Man 5 is him and Daredevil, and then Black Cat, and then Black Cat's there, because that's a big thing. Okay. The 3 of them is a huge thing in the comics all the time. Okay. But by that point, he's old enough where a love triangle with him and Daredevil and Black Cat would work.
Yeah, because I think even putting him in or doing that in this next Spider-Man would probably be
a little too early, because he's probably gonna be just in college.
Although, I mean, we are right around the corner from this Daredevil show, which still doesn't have a trailer.
I know, and
it's insane.
I would love to see that. So then, if 4 is like a team up, then it could be him and we could find somebody else to do. But him and Johnny Storm when he gets from the future, or however they're going to do Fantastic Four shit.
Do you think when we get to Secret Wars, do you think we finally pull Charlie Cox in for a cameo in that? I mean, he did a cameo in No Way Home, but
he's confirmed in universe because he's in the She-Hulk show.
Yeah.
That's why I would like to see like Spider-Man 5, him and Daredevil team up. Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree there. So it would be nice. It would be nice for Sony to finally give up those licenses so you could have those. Like Venom's the biggest one,
right?
Like,
and that's why
if you get past Secret Wars and you do the symbiote thing,
what if
to market? Maybe that is the 6th Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
You market it as, all right, we're going to finally do the Venom.
If Secret Wars is between 5 and 6. Then it writes itself.
That's another $1 billion Spider-Man movie.
Yes, and you know what? It's also the last one. So fucking go for it. And don't put Carnage in it. Don't.
No.
Do not do it.
You can leave him out of it.
Don't put Null in it. Don't do it. Him and Venom. Done.
They had big plans for Null.
Holy shit.
Those plans are dead.
Really sucked.
We can kick over to emails here. We got a few. We've been off for a little bit. First one we have, which is actually an important one because we were going to address it anyways. Cass from Grand Rapids, Michigan says, "Hi guys, love the podcast. Are you guys going to do your top games of the year soon? Also, will you do a top movies as well, since you guys have been doing movie reviews lately too? Thanks." We're going to save those for the first episode when we come back in January. Partially because Matt's not here this time, and we didn't want this to run super long.
And the year will be over, and the Game Awards just happened.
And the other thing too is, like, I really have a feeling like Indiana Jones is a game that will probably crack in there. I never do my stuff until the very end of January, so it gives me a chance to catch up on anything.
I got to figure out where KRAVEN's gonna go. Probably 2 or 1.
And I'll be honest, like, I would be shocked if Nosferatu is not in my top 5 when I go see it.
I will be concerned for you if it's not.
You'd be concerned.
Yes.
Like, does he have a pulse?
He did not see the movie. He is lying, is what I would say.
I'm not going Christmas Day, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I will go probably the weekend.
Last movie I saw on Christmas Day, Sherlock Holmes 2.
Last movie I saw on Christmas Day was Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
And I got,
because that was its release,
locked out of my car because it was so fucking cold. And we went at like 10 o'clock.
I, as a kid, had to pee during that movie really bad. And I finally, at the end of the movie, it told me that, like, I can't hold it anymore. I have to go. And I ran to the bathroom and came back, and the movie is over.
Awesome.
I did not see the final 5 minutes of that movie. And it's the kind of thing where, like, it was Christmas Day. It was literally my dad and I and one other person. Like, you could have asked him, can you pause it for a second? You know, like, there's nobody there.
You gotta go, man. You gotta go.
But then I had to wait because it wasn't like, oh, it's out on digital in 2 weeks. I had to wait 9 months to see the end of that movie. So, because we didn't go a second time,
right?
So, but that's the only time, and that was back when we really did a lot of stuff on Christmas Day. But that was the only time where, like, I remember, and it was a big deal to be like, we're gonna cut away from all this family stuff and go see this movie, you know. So I never, like, any other year, I've never gone on Christmas Day or Thanksgiving
we went and
Day.
Saw
I don't like to bother people.
Sherlock Holmes 2.
Even a couple years, like, my family did the thing where they're like, we're going to go out to eat for Thanksgiving. Like, I never cared for that.
No, I don't like that.
So I don't like bothering people.
No.
On Thanksgiving.
I like to be in my own house watching football.
I don't think people should
eating
be
food.
Yeah, I think everybody should be on. I think everything should be closed.
No.
So, but I will go probably that weekend. So I will have a lot to say about that. But yeah, we're holding it for that. We'll do a top movies as well.
Top 5.
And like I said, Matt will be back, so he'll be able to do it as well. Yep. So that'll be in January. And like I said, there's other. I mean, I would also like. I'm not going to say I'll get through it, but I would like to play the Warhammer game too. So, because I feel like I'll probably like that game a lot. So, to be continued in January. Bert from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Hi, 572 crew. Last episode, you guys talked about Resident Evil 9 and the leaks and rumors surrounding the game. My question is, the game is indeed returning to that third-person mode we all know and love. Do you think that they will bring back the true version of Mercenaries? It would be really cool to see a new, proper version of that mode on a current-gen console. I mean,
that's the hope.
They did it. That's the hope. I mean, first of all, yes, that is the primary hope for me.
Mercenaries.
My friend, we loaded up Re5 Mercenaries like a week ago and played, I don't know, 4 or 5 rounds, and like it's the perfect version of that.
You're saying the perfect version wasn't the 3DS version of that game?
I didn't mind that.
I thought the 3DS version of that game was incredible. Like,
it was a little bit harder to get, just because, like, we do all sorts of crazy tricks with the item management stuff to maximize your time. A little harder to do on a 3DS, but I actually thought we played that co-op on the 3DS.
It was phenomenal. Like,
it was a phenomenal game that I always was like
working on a cartridge-based console in your hand.
It didn't, and I always, especially when they brought that other 3DS game, Revelations, to I always was like, please bring that Mercenaries game. To the console, because I would have played so much. I would have been my top played 360
I know.
Or whatever it came out. But yeah, for me, Resident Evil 5 is the perfect Mercs mode. I would love to see them do that in 9, a proper. I think they will, because they brought it back for 8. It wasn't, it's first person. It wasn't what people wanted.
Right.
And I tried it. It's too slow in first person. So, but that would be, that's the hope. I'm surprised there wasn't anything said at the Game Awards, but I think they did that on purpose because they wanted to show Onimusha.
Right.
I'm still clinging to there's a January reveal.
Sure.
So because I feel like we're just right around the corner, and they can start to talk about that since Monster Hunter is going to be out soon. So
yeah, and
they're going to want. And honestly, they're going to want the next thing.
They probably want to get past that, and then it's like, all right, Monster Hunter's out. It's sold 4 million copies in a week. Resident Evil 9.
Yeah, but I mean, I also think you can announce that game before because those are two different audiences.
You could, but I think that Capcom would really like to be like Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter.
They like to really focus on one thing.
The Onimusha thing that will come out after Resident Evil 9. That was more of just like a check this shit out. We're doing it's back. You know,
we're finally doing it. Yeah, no, for sure. This one, I think this came through before the Game Awards aired. So, ready from Trenton, New Jersey. Howdy, guys. I'm curious if you all are watching the Game Awards this year, and if so, what do you overall think of the show? Is this something that is good or bad for the game industry at this point? I know this version of it has been going for 10 years now, and overall, while I think it's personally good for the industry, the last few years they've really kind of fallen off with some very bad decisions, such as the mic cutting during award reception, firing off several awards at once, and it really seems like the sole focus of it is the announcements. I mean, that's the reason we all watch this shit, but it doesn't really seem fair to the creators. Do you think it needs an overhaul? Thanks. I mean, we addressed some of these things. I forgot they did totally cut people's mics last year too, because that was what.
But they were doing that. But they were doing that because of the year before.
Yeah, where they went too long. Because remember that remember the God of War guy? He went on for like 10 minutes. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So then everybody got punished because that guy messed up, and then everybody got upset about that. So then this year, I think they were just kind of like they probably told everybody ahead of time, like, look, we're not going to cut anybody off, but please be mindful of the time.
We have
because like when Fallout got the award, they were hugging everybody up and down the line, and that took 2 minutes, and then it was like.
Yeah,
they were trying to figure out like who should go up, and the two guys went up, and then they were like, they told Ella Purnell, like, "Oh no, yeah, you come too." So she goes up there. She doesn't even talk.
Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't say
it's
anything.
like let her talk. She's the actress.
Well, and the other thing that was weird to me, and I kind of forgot. Like, Todd Howard is the executive producer on that Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, he is.
So, and he's
also
sure
apparently
he had a hand in that story.
4.5 feet tall.
You saw the meme I sent.
Yeah, I did. I did not realize how short he is. How short he is, or how tall the other two guys are.
Yeah,
but like, damn, dude, he looked like.
Well, I don't even think we mentioned that so Harrison Ford came out.
Yeah,
and clearly had a little liquor for sure, but they also they clearly fucked up the teleprompter.
That was fucking up all night.
But it was the worst.
Yeah, it was the worst for him.
So, but he kind of famously has a
problem
with those.
Greg Miller predicted Harrison Ford was going to come out. That guy who probably has insider knowledge about how this award show is going to go, and he's friends with Troy Baker, who would have known about it. But no, he predicted it.
Well, yeah. Also, I laughed too though, because it was like when they came out, and the two of them are there, and that was the first thing I thought in my head was like, are they actually going to wheel Harrison? Like, is he going to come out like at this thing? Nah, he feels too big. And then I thought back to last year when they had Al Pacino, who clearly didn't know where he was and didn't care. And I was like, well, if he shows up, you could probably get Harrison Ford at his current age, and he wouldn't care.
Harrison Ford is Red Hulk, dude.
Offered him a few drinks, yeah. So, and he was fine. I will say he was more composed than Al Pacino.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Al Pacino was terrible. You had no fucking idea where he was.
Yeah, going back to the email, I think one of the biggest issues I have with the whole show is we've said this before in the past years. It really is just the Jeff Keighley and Friends show. It is a show for him to put on for all of his friends who are in the audience. Everybody, please like me. Show me your stuff so I can show the people your stuff. It's all just an industry show for them that they all just show to us. And it seems like the awards are, while he enjoys the awards aspect of it, he does. There are too many of them. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't need esports awards anymore. We don't.
I don't think we need content.
We don't need content creator awards anymore. We don't. Do you know why? Because there's so fucking many of them.
I didn't even know any of them.
I knew the guy who won. That's it.
Okay.
That's because he's.
I've never even heard of that guy.
That's because he's the fat guy that plays horror games and yells at his chat the whole time. And he comes up on my Instagram every so often. To be fair, he's funny because he's a dumbass. But we don't need that award. Like
we don't.
We don't need.
No.
We need the heavy hitters. It should be like game of the year, best performance, best direction, best story, best music, best RPG. I'm going to argue. I'm going to tell you, someone who plays sports video games, I don't need a best sports game of the year award. Wow, FIFA won? Get the hell out of here!
It's always going to be one of those same. Okay, it's NBA.
They can't even be bothered to list like MLB on there, even though that's probably not going to win. But it is a major sports game that comes out every year. It probably should be on the list.
It's probably one. It probably sells more than one of the other ones that's on there.
It was up against like Topspin and wrestling and golf. It's like you could put another name in the bunch. Like
you can
either make it about awards or don't. Either make it about reveals or don't. Like we talked about before, move the indie stuff to the pre-show. The pre-show should be indie release, sponsor, ad, indie release, sponsor. Go check out State Farm. Go check out the graphics with video or whatever.
Really. Yeah,
and then put awards, musical performances, and world premieres during the 2.5 hour main show.
No, absolutely. I still think overall it's good for the industry, but I do think that there's we talked about it earlier. I do think there's also the disingenuous part of it with Keighley.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before, like you're standing in a room full of industry people talking about, well, it kind of sucks this year that so many people have been laid off, but directly talking to a lot of people who are responsible for those layoffs.
And you're also saying
that's disingenuous.
One of the best years ever in video games. One of the best years ever. 10,000 of you lost your jobs, and a lot of those people are in this room, and they should point at Todd Howard. Like that guy did it too.
That guy. Yeah.
But it's the best ever, but everybody got fired. And then he starts, to cry for the fourth time. Like, man,
it's weird.
You're passionate, but maybe rein it in and talk to people.
Agreed.
Be real with people. Don't lie.
It's weird. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I do think it needs a little bit of an overhaul.
He just gives off this,
it's been 10 years
he gives off
since
this,
they started this version.
Please like me vibe. Right?
He does it.
And
I agree with
you
that.
guys, and I hate having to be reminded every goddamn year that, guys, Hideo Kojima's my friend. He's my friend.
My deep personal friend, Hideo Kojima. Yeah, it's every time.
Man.
I will say he kept the Kojima stuff to a minimum this year.
But it was still.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I wanted a Death Stranding 2 trailer, but I'm surprised he only showed up to be a presenter. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
That's probably because Jeff begged him to do it.
He had to show off that sweet brooch, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still think it needs a little bit of an overhaul, but I will say, as someone who's watched this since the Spike TV days, and there were the couple, I'd say, experimental years before they got to this kind of Oscar-like format.
Yeah.
This is probably the best format that they've done.
Remember when Joel McHale hosted these?
Very bad.
And they were fucking bad.
Real bad.
Because he hated being there, and you could tell.
You could tell he's doing it for his paycheck.
Yep. It's really weird.
I mean, that's the thing you can at least say about Keighley. Like, he is doing it because he's passionate about the industry. Like, he's not faking that. So, but there's just aspects of it where you have to roll your eyes. So, next email we have comes to us from Brett from Akron, Ohio. Hi, 572. Wanted to write and say that I really enjoyed your top 5 SNES episode. It was nice to see you guys cut loose and talk about a focused topic. Do you guys have a lot more of these planned? And if so, any topics you want to announce? So we do have, I guess I'll just say, we have a spreadsheet of stuff that we're going through and determining, we have a lot of top 5 things that we'll be doing in the future. We do have another one of those, and I think I said at the top of the episode, I'll be putting it out on the 27th of December. That one specifically is what do we end up calling it? Top 5 promotional items?
No, it's not even a top 5. It was just kind of so
it was going to be top 5 promotional items, and it turned into you found this box.
So here's a teaser.
Items.
Here's a teaser for you to go watch it. we talked about it a lot, but I worked in video games retail for 15 years between Game Crazy and GameStop, and I've collected a lot of random shit over the years, including a lot of like random promotional items. And while cleaning up some stuff a couple months ago, I found a Rubbermaid tub full of them. This isn't all of it. There's probably another box or two somewhere. But we went through and dug everything out of that bin and kind of talked about it. And we talked about other promotional items and some other things related to that, just like having gone through that period of time. So if you want to see weird promotional items from years gone by, you should check it out. It's a visual episode for sure. But just some highlights. What was in there, Kyle?
In your box,
Sackboy stuff plushie. I had
the coolest thing I think you had was that thing we couldn't find anything out about, which was that little Mario toy or plushie. Or
the Mario Yoshi plushies that I found.
Yeah, we could not find another one on like eBay or anything to compare it to, which is kind of crazy.
Which is weird.
That was probably the coolest thing in there.
What else was in there?
I'm trying to remember because it was like over a month ago.
Grand Theft Auto 5 promotional viewfinder things.
Yeah, the viewfinders, and then I think we found out there was more of those than we thought.
There's 6 of them, I think.
There's 6 of them, I think.
Gran Turismo, like Matchbox cars.
You had that, I forget which game it was, but like remember those folders you could get that would have the art prints?
A lot of like art stuff.
Good one, Overwatch.
Yeah, for like Activision,
I think it was,
and Blizzard stuff, Destiny stuff,
which
too.
Actually goes for a decent amount.
So if you're interested in like just weird promos and stuff, none of them are like too crazy, but it's just
there's nothing like really crazy, but it's cool stuff that you normally wouldn't see outside of being a manager.
The public doesn't ever see it.
Yeah,
and this is just the stuff I took. There's plenty of stuff that other people took or I left behind. Or remember that one year for FIFA they sent us like a locker. There was it was like a locker and you opened it up and it had stuff in it. There used to be promotional kits, and maybe one of these episodes I'll dig at all my old they weren't in there, but I have a lot of old game t-shirts.
You got old game t-shirts, and the other thing would be like some of the cool signage and stuff that you have, or the posters.
Yes,
I mean, some of them are quite large.
Whole box of posters. We can turn this thing sideways and I can dig them out and show them. But
there's a lot.
So yeah, the idea behind that episode and like this was something that would be shorter and that we could use if we're going to need to take a week off or something like that, or but a lot of it's going to be top fives, or maybe we'll talk about a specific game for 30 minutes or something like that. It's just shorter bites. It's
meant to be a supplemental thing.
But if you have any ideas for stuff you want to hear about, send them in. We'll put it on the spreadsheet.
A top 5 of something, or whatever.
Or if you have, if you watch the SNES one and you have a top 5, send it in. If you think we missed a game or a game shouldn't be on there, send it in.
Mm-hmm. Next email we have comes to us from Gene from Kansas City, Kansas. Hi, gentlemen. Just found this podcast recently, so my apologies if this question has been asked in the past, as I'm still playing catch up on older episodes. In one of your earlier episodes, you guys talked about some arcade cabinet stuff. I know you've talked a bit about your personal collections. I was curious if you guys have any arcade cabinets or pinball machines in your collection. If not, anything are you looking to get in, or is that not an area you guys are super into? Thanks again. Love the podcast. I don't personally have any arcade cabinets. I think he's probably referring to when I talk about that Castlevania thing that I would love to find.
There was that. I don't have any arcade cabinets, but I have the Switch Interactive. That's
that's
like that.
Ridiculous thing to have. To be fair,
I would kill to have a pinball machine. I love pinball.
I would too. I found that thing on eBay a couple months ago. I think I showed you of like the Batman Returns, like the back of the pinball machine you can buy. That's like a light up sign, but I can't justify it because I cannot hang that anywhere right now. But I would want like Batman 89 or like Beetlejuice or something like pinball machine.
When we went to MGC,
that is one of the fun parts of that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a year you went, but I think it was when I was with Tyler. There was a Spider-Man pinball machine where it like had the Sinister Six inside the machine, and you would have to like capture them and do. I would kill to have that machine.
Yeah.
because they they move around and do stuff in the machine. I also really like, and they're it's not traditional by any means, but they have those like digital ones where they're like the big table that are it's a monitor that's laid down. But I like it because you can have 100 pinball machines in it. You know what I mean? So that would be cool to have, just because then I would have a lot of different pinball machines. But I would really love like a Spider-Man pinball machine would be so cool.
Hey, my neighbor has offered to sell me a Pac-Man machine several times that he has in his basement. I don't know what condition it is or what it looks like or how much he's looking for.
Yeah, an arcade machine, I would really love like a Dig Dug. I think that would be. I love Dig Dug. That's one of my favorites.
Mean, obviously for me, the big one would be that Castlevania machine if I could find that. Otherwise, I'm pretty standard. I would like a. I don't think I want the arcade 1-up version of it, but I would like Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, you know what I would love to is a real NBA Jam machine.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Jam. Or Blitz.
I would either Mortal Kombat 2 or Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
But like I said, not the arcade.
I always looked at arcade 1-ups. It's like that would be cool. That would be cool to have, but
yeah,
I would love to have a real NBA Jam machine. Man, the big one with the dual monitor.
Be cool too. Yeah. I've also seen like there are some people. I think like I haven't watched a Metal Jesus video in a long time, but doesn't he have one of those like things that has the board in it where you can pick from like hundreds of games?
Like a main machine or something?
Those are cool too. Yeah, those are cool too, and I wouldn't be unopposed to having one of those.
You know what arcade machines I loved was at MGC. They had those guys that would build them, and they would for Super Nintendos or a Game Boy. Or whatever.
Yeah, those are cool.
Like it's a big stand-up machine with the controller built in like that, but it's just a Super Nintendo running on the screen. That was pretty cool.
Those are cool too. Yeah, or pinball. Like I said, for me, pinball would pinball for me would either be Batman '89 or Returns, Beetlejuice, or Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I would take a James.
They did make that, and it's
a cool James Bond one. And they have newer James Bond ones, but I would love an older one.
Every once in a while when I'm looking on the Facebook Marketplace at guitar stuff, whatever, it only comes up because one day I clicked on a poster. There's somebody in our area selling a Bram Stoker's Dracula poster from that movie for like $20, and one of these days I'm just gonna do it because it's still up there. One of these days I'm like, and it's not. Would have to. It's not in the town I live in. It's closer towards you, so it'd be a little bit of a drive. But it's one of those where I'm like, I'll give you $20 for this, homie. I will go get it framed. I'll hang it in here. If I ever have the opportunity, if my girlfriend and I ever get the basement project off the ground, that is something I would like to have some sort of either arcade cabinet or pinball machine. One or the other. I don't think I'm not gonna be able to swing both. So I have to make a choice. Let's see here. Next email we have. Let me see, because we had some of the Game Awards ones. I know we read that one. We read that one. I think we're up to our last one here, which does involve the Game Awards. Brady from Pine Prairie, Louisiana. Hi, gents. Love the podcast. I'm curious if any of you have seen the scuttle going around on Amir Stavat. I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
It's on you.
The winner of the first ever Game Changers Award. He gave us a link to a pretty good Twitter/X thread that explains the entire situation. It's a fascinating read. What do you guys make of it? So we didn't talk about this. I purposely saved this for this email to talk about, but they did a thing yesterday and it was kind of interesting. And at the time that it was being shown, I didn't really think much of it. It was just kind of for me, it was kind of like a throwaway. But we talk about the entire time that we've talked about the Game Awards and like the constant mentioning of like, there's been all these, never been a better year, but there's been all these layoffs. Well, this year they decided to do, and I'm sure this will obviously continue, this thing called the Game Changers Award, which is going to highlight somebody prolific in the industry that's, supposedly doing something really wonderful for the industry. So the first person that has won this is this Amir Stavat, and it's come to light a kind of conspiracy theory around this guy and what he weird. May or may not be doing. So I will say everything that we say take with a grain of salt because it is get into conspiracy theory territory. But the guy basically won the award because he's been kind of I wouldn't say a middleman, but he's been kind of a person. He created a spreadsheet basically that allows people that have been laid off to kind of post their information on it as kind of like a job board to find other jobs. And he's kind of helped with like placement to help people that have been laid off in the games industry get jobs at other studios. But some people on Twitter and X have done a little bit deeper digging and found out that this guy for a year and a half now, is it we saw?
Yeah.
His works for Tencent. And there might be a little bit deeper of thing to this that might point to that he might be placing people at studios that Tencent is interested in buying out.
That's crazy. Like I think it's funny, but like, come on.
Yeah, it's and like I said, it's one of those things where like it's definitely a tinfoil hat thing. But there is a lot of evidence if you look through the Twitter, thread, and I'll post the Twitter thread in the notes for the audio podcast here, and the YouTube one as well for anybody that wants to look at it. But yeah, so basically he's a business development director at Tencent. So I had to scroll through on here. It's interesting. It's kind of crazy and interesting. Yeah. And it's also the kind of thing of like, when you think about it, would that totally be something that Jeff Keighley would know about and paint in a positive light? Absolutely. I would think so.
Really? You think so?
I think so.
Maybe.
I think there is a side to Jeff Keighley where he knows of things and chooses not to mention them.
He knows more dirty shit about game journalism and like developers than anyone else does. He's the guy who's got dirt on everybody. But he also he's not the kind of guy who necessarily wants to use that, I don't think. I don't think so. He genuinely cares. And he does try to spin it as the games industry is super strong right now. Look at all these games. I love games. And then he'll do that thing where he's like, but a lot of people lost their jobs. So this guy helped you find jobs. The games are great. And he tries to ignore the bad stuff.
And I think it's because of his love for the games industry. Like I think it's because he's so passionate about the games industry. I don't think Jeff Keighley does anything malicious for the games industry, but I do also think it's the kind of thing where like he probably knew a little bit of this. I don't think he knew the whole story behind it.
I'm sure he knows where he works.
I'm sure he does now. Well. He did because it's all over. But and it also, but I also don't think he is incredibly out of touch as some of these other people. Like, I don't know, I didn't bring it up on here, but I saw, and it got blasted on Twitter this past week, of all people. Obviously we've seen all these layoffs, and the most recent was the IGNs, but I saw Danny O'Dwyer post a thing about he doesn't understand why there's so many layoffs in games journalism right now. And people have just blown that up to like, take a look around you, man.
Right.
Like, check the room. Like, maybe you, and like the thing is, like, he left the journalism industry, like 2015 to start NoClip? Like, it's been a while.
Right.
He's been doing the video thing. So like, he has been out of the journalism part of the industry long enough before it got to the shittiness that it has been now. But it's also like, take a look around, man. Like, that part of this industry has been attacking its fan base for the last 4 years. Why do you think it's dwindling now? So, and he's been ratioed to hell on Twitter for that. So I just find that funny. But whereas, like I said, with Jeff Keighley, I don't think he does anything malicious. No, I think he generally has the well-being for video games as a medium. Yep. So, and that's a good thing. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we make fun of the Game Awards. We have, our jabs and stuff, the Game Awards, but I still think it is a good thing for the video game industry. And I think without someone like Jeff Keighley, you wouldn't have a fucking Game Awards show like this.
No, not at all.
You would, and I think the version that you had before it with Joel McHale, that would have died, and that would have been
the end of it for sure.
You would have had just every publication doing their own version of it. And
it's an important thing. It's an event to celebrate the industry. It's a networking thing. It's everything it needs to be to keep the industry moving.
I'm sure an event better? Like that,
sure, but everything.
I'm sure an event like that where they bring those people, like the people that actually go to it, is a huge networking event. Absolutely. Kind of like E3
Right.
was. And that's the thing you have to remember. There is no real E3 anymore.
Dead.
So you kind of need something like this to be a networking event.
Right.
Or I also think there are times where like there are developers that go to these that meet other developers, and that's where you get game ideas that you may not have gotten because these two people met and went, hey, let's make a game
work together. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think I always point to this moment because I think this is probably one of the I would argue this is the best moment the Game Awards ever had, but I don't think we would have ever gotten the moment that we got, and I want to say it was 2019, it could have been 2018, where you had the three heads on the stage at the same time. And you've never seen that since, but that still was in a crazy moment. You never in a million years would have seen something like that, where you have the head of Microsoft, the head of Sony, and the head of Nintendo on the same stage
hanging out.
Granted, that was the best era for the heads of these companies, because you had Reggie, you had Sean Layden, you had Phil Spencer. Prime Phil. So like I don't think you're going to see that again for a while, but that's what Jeff Keighley brings to the table. So I think at the end, while there is bad with it, I think he brings more good than bad
for sure.
So but we'll wrap it up here. This is going to be our last episode of the year. You can, as always, send your emails, your requests, your recommendations to podcast572@gmail.com. Like I said, that other episode of mini games will be out December 27th. It'll be on the YouTube channel, and then we will be back the weekend of January 10th. We'll return with our game of the year stuff. We'll talk about our games of the year and everything. So thank you for listening. We'll see you in the new year.
Thank you, everyone.